And it did work. All right. There Will Be Bourbon returns tonight with super lawyer, future judge, probably a future Supreme Court justice. If I have my way when I win the presidency in 2032, for those who are out there observing this, remember to vote. I am joined tonight with Renee Goble, who I have been fortunate enough to know since 6th grade. And if you know who I am and how old I am, that's a very, very long time. We're going on 3 decades here. All right. So she's been a tremendous friend. She's been a very accomplished individual, probably one of the most successful people I know, which speaks well of me because I've managed to befriend her for this long. But Renee, how are you?
I'm doing good. It's a beautiful night here in Denver, Colorado. And I'm happy to be here with you and my rum.
Rum, exactly. So before we get going on that, I am joined tonight with the Old Tub, a new, not so new release from the fine Jim Beam distillery they brought back recently. It is a bottled in bond product, which means it must be a minimum of 100 proof, 4 years old, distilled during one distilling season at one distillery, and bonded in a warehouse under government supervision. You should love that, government supervision. So yeah, it's the authentic stuff, but they brought it back recently because, bourbons took off and it's got all kinds of things that they're bringing back. So that is what will be fueling my conversation tonight with Renee, who is Jamaican.
Yes.
She's an American.
And
she was born in Jamaica and she's brought the rum. What do you got?
I brought Appleton Estates.
Okay.
The 12-year rare blend. Which my husband, who's also a huge bourbon connoisseur,
he's a good man. Says, I love him already.
He says that it's this particular brand. Well, actually, they have a 21-year.
Yeah, my brother's rivals. It's delicious.
It rivals some of the best bourbons in the world. So, and if he were here, and if I were a bourbon drinker, which I am not, I brought this. Flaw. I know. Well, I've tried, honey. I've tried. But I brought this to just bring as an offering that I could have, but I won't.
Nice peace offering. I like it. Good.
Yeah. What is this? So this is 109.5 proof.
Yeah.
54.75% alcohol. It's the Kentucky Bourbon Whiskey barrel fashion with oak staves.
Yep.
The Private Select.
Right there.
Oh, look at you. What is your What are your numbers?
The same. 109.5 proof.
Oh, special because the guy he signed the back.
If you look on the back, you can see the different staves that they use to make it. It's a really cool finishing process. So if you're ever in Louisville and you get to go into the Kentucky Bourbon Trail, check out Maker's Mark because they do some really cool stuff and you'd probably get a kick out of it.
Yeah, I know my husband's family's from there, so it's on my list of places that I have to go to. So I'll check it out.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm throwing the idea around for when I do turn 40 this year in December. I brought it up with Maddie a couple of days ago about going because we're going to be off for a few weeks during the Christmas time. And I was thinking of going out there to Louisville since I got to go see my parents anyway. Maybe hit the Bourbon Trail up again and go see the distilleries that I did not get to see. So if you guys are in the area, feel free to stop by.
Yeah. I'm hopefully we're going to go to Jamaica for Christmas. So I'll be at my own distillery.
Slightly warmer location.
It all depends on if they'll let us in and what the COVID situation is. But that's what we'd like to
We'll get into that. But I have a feeling if a certain individual does win, this whole, travel restriction will magically disappear.
Yeah, that doesn't mean other countries are going to let us in, though.
Well, at the end of the day, there's still only one country on speed dial when things go bad, and it's us. So if we say we're coming to your country, we're coming.
Okay. That's probably true. That's probably true.
Okay. So let's start with that because you did mention Jamaica. So you were born in Jamaica. You moved to the United States, to New York when you were 6. And then obviously moved to Florida, and that's where we met once upon a time at the no longer standing Beaumont Middle School in 6th grade in Kissimmee, Florida.
They should have torn that down when we were there. So I'm glad they finally got around to it.
You're not wrong.
The amount of asbestos that we inhaled and God knows what.
Any chance we can get some class action lawsuits?
No, trust me. I checked when I was an asbestos lawyer. I was like, let me just see what the statute is.
So I assume that school would have had to change its name anyway. What were we? The Beaumont Warriors? I'm sure that's offensive to somebody at this point.
Yeah. Not this warrior.
Yeah, that's right. You got warrior on as we speak right now. Yeah. Because you were at one point in Were you obsessed with Xena, Warrior Princess?
I still am.
Still
I
are?
am.
Okay.
Yes.
And then the
and
Game
I
of
have
Thrones
I've managed to bring it down the line, and now my 10-year-old is obsessed with Xena.
Is she?
And she's like, Mommy, I don't understand why that show's not on TV anymore. I said, because it sucks. And then she said, I said, that wasn't a great show. It was just the fact that there's this amazingly hot woman kicking ass, and like she wasn't some weakling, and all the men in the shows were idiots. It was great. It was just nice to see, you know? And, I still am obsessed with Xena, and as I've gone through my life and had different like you were definitely a warrior in a past life, so now I'm still a warrior. I just do it in the courtroom.
This is true, and you are I would say you're pretty good at that. Yeah. Okay, let's delve into that, because so we know who we're talking to here tonight. As I said, Renee did go to law school once upon a time, went to Stetson University in Florida. She's a Hatter.
Yes.
Mad Hatter. Yeah. Which reminds me, I'm supposed to go as the Mad Hatter with Maddie for a Halloween costume.
Oh, nice. Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Definitely send me pictures.
Yeah, we'll bring her out. You're going to see her at some point, walk through to go.
Oh, I'd love to see her. No, that's literally one of my husband's favorite characters. And he's actually thinking of getting the Johnny Depp Mad Hatter tattooed on his something. So I'm like, okay.
On his okay, we'll come back.
On his arm, somewhere in his arm.
We'll talk about that offline, as we like to say. Okay. Went to Stetson, and then you went up to law school. Where'd you go to law school?
I went to John Marshall in Chicago.
Which is a fine institution, I'm told.
Yes, it's actually the one. I still believe it has the same ranking, that it's the law school that has the most sitting judges in the country coming out of that school.
That's not a bad thing. So at this point, you need to live up to your...
Yeah, no, I know. There's like this Judge Hall of Fame, and I'm trying to get there. So that was the whole goal. So,
and you were close recently, right?
Very, very close. Just last month, I was on Governor Polis's short list to be a Denver District Court judge, which was amazing.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But yeah, I didn't get the appointment this time, but there's other opportunities because I am quite young to do it. But it'll happen. I'll keep trying.
Oh, it's definitely going to happen. I mean, if we were like 59 and having this conversation, I'd be like, well, look, Renee, you had a good run, but
right. No, and I have so much amazing support in the community, so it really just kind of fueled that. I just got to keep going. So
I mean, I've been hyping you up to everyone that I ever come across. That's like, when we talk about friends who are lawyers or who've done this, I'm like, oh, well, guess what? I have this friend who's in wherever the hell she's at, Denver at this point in time, who's about to be a judge. Say something, and they can't. So that's good. But we'll get you there, and I'll keep sending as many emails as necessary.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
We'll definitely get you there. So now this is what I wanted to get into, because you had the honor, I suppose, to as soon as you graduated, your first job was at a law firm called DLA Piper, US, right? And what were they known for what was it, 2008?
Yeah, no. Well, yeah, it's 2007, 2006. But whatever it was. So DLA Piper is a large international law firm. And one of the big claims to fame in the United States branch is that we did the Major League Steroid Baseball investigation. So Senator George Mitchell after he retired, he was a lawyer at the firm. So he brought in all interesting cases in business, and it just so happens I wanted to do white collar defense and investigations. And I just had I had the free time. You're like, well, we need to staff this case with, you have to fly around the country and interview baseball teams and all this stuff. And I'm like, okay, I got time. And it's crazy because it was such a huge deal at the time. In the early 2010s ish, it's like when the baseball steroids in general was coming out with or having the bad rap and the side effects and so forth. So anyway, it was like a huge deal, and I get put on this case, and I remember being in a room full of we had lawyers from the union, we had lawyer from the baseball team, then you had our lawyers. I mean, it was just a room full of lawyers, but these people I was like 24. And these people were
practicing
for practice. Because I would call you, I'm like, hey, dude, what is this? what is this clubhouse they keep talking about? Because I had to learn baseball, never mind like, the legal stuff. That was easy. But anyway, but it was these really accomplished lawyers that have been practicing for years, worked on big cases, and they were all like, this is the case that you always want to work on. And here it is, like the first thing out of my gate. And so anyway, it was just a blessing. I really learned a lot. I really learned to listen to, because there's different sides to the story, right? We had the baseball players, we had the former baseball players, we had the coaches, then it was the management, and then it was the doctors. Like everybody had their own perspective, and we had to piece it all together. And it was really interesting.
So let me back up real quick. So, okay. How does one, you said you wanted to do white collar crime or white collar investigations. Is that what it was?
Yeah.
So say someone's graduating from, John Marshall Law School today. How did they end up doing that? Is that something you just, because you volunteered and your track record allowed them?
Oh, no. How does that happen? There's two main types of areas of law. There's litigation, which is the fighting in the courtroom stuff. And then there's transactional, which is drafting contracts and wills and legislation and stuff. So there's the ones that write and the ones that get up and talk. So I'm the get up and talk girl, right?
Okay.
So that puts me in a different category. So most law firms, especially a big firm like DLA, they have within their practice areas, they have a litigation group, and then the litigation group specializes in certain type of civil claims, torts, could be white collar or even criminal. So you specialize within that. So white collar investigations in particular, and this was also because when I was at that firm, we were representing people from Enron, like that whole thing was going down, Arthur Anderson. So I was like, well, let's do this. If we're going to do it, we're going to do it. So it was really just because of the firm, the fact that I was a litigator and my firm had that practice area, and because it's a huge firm, we had the big clients. So
that's crazy. So, okay. So there you are, you're 24. You are in the middle of this investigation. Now, when you started it, did you know, or did you have a feeling that this was going to be as big as it ended up being? Or were you just like, oh, this is cool?
I was very naive. I'm like, what? Why does this matter? And I remember you were on the baseball team. And
I was playing. I had just given up my fledgling college career at the pretty much around when this kicked off. It was probably when I came back from Iraq. So it was like 2004 or 5-ish. Yeah,
I think so. Because I remember calling to ask you questions, not just about the baseball stuff. Well, like really the baseball stuff. There's a lot of intertwining there, but So okay. Because I remember trying to keep in contact, because this is such it's the way it intersects with our lives between you and I, and obviously you were in the States the whole time, but deploying in 2003, 2004 compared to now is night and day, because like I said, back then, we were still doing handwritten letters, one or didn't
two
have the
phone
technology.
Calls. We didn't. And then when the internet finally showed up, it was 2-3 hour waits in the for the internet dial-up trailer, and then I would get on, and of course the first thing I would check was always sports. And the funniest thing was I stopped paying attention for a while, because I remember the Orlando Magic basketball team where we were from. They were in the middle of the longest losing streak at the time in NBA history. It was like 20 some games or something stupid. And Doc Rivers was the coach who just got fired again. But anyway, I bring that up is because at the time, Barry Bonds, my favorite player growing up, always will be. I was a huge Giants fan. And that year in 2004, I think, was when the Giants were in the World Series and lost to the Angels. Yeah. And Barry Bonds obviously was a huge focus of this because of Balco out here in the Bay Area. So okay,
so I went out there to interview him. I didn't.
Did you actually interview him?
I did not, but that was part of one of my teams. So I had specific teams, and the Oakland A's was one.
Okay.
The Reds, the Oakland A's, but that was great. The Marlins, of which I got to meet Joe Girardi, and
I remember that. He was a guy I always suspected, because the dude was like 50 and shredded. Still is probably, but sorry, Joe.
No, he was a serious dude, man. He was not messing around. Yeah.
He didn't want to be there, or he just didn't want to.
Oh, he didn't want to be there, and he was. He is business. That's all I have to say, and I respect him for that. He was like, I should be out there coaching my people, and I'm in here with y'all. So what do you need? He had his little notebook, and he's like, what? I'm like, okay, well, because he's from Chicago, right? And so I was living in Chicago, and the partner I was with was from Chicago. So we asked, like, we're just joking around, like, what's your favorite Chicago pizza? Because that's a question you ask. And he was like, let's go. All right, okay.
I'm not here
so
to
we're
be
not
your
doing
friend,
that.
bro.
Not at
Yeah.
all. Not at all. Who else?
So okay, so you said
Yeah.
you talked to the Oakland A's. So why the A's but not the Giants?
Oh, it was just it was a different team. So we had, like, I was with the team from Chicago and
Oh, got it. 'Cause I was
Baltimore.
gonna say, I mean,
And the
it's
people that, it
comparable to
was
80.
weird. Yeah, it didn't
Yeah.
make any sense because we had an office in San Francisco. So the San
Okay.
Francisco firm or
Yeah.
office did that one. But for some reason we did the A's.
Yeah, well, it makes
We did
sense.
the A's.
The home team went to the nice side of town, and you guys went to
Yeah,
Oakland.
that's right. That's right. That is exactly
Trust me,
right.
I've been to both stadiums many times. There's
God,
definitely a difference.
That was the first time. So we went in August. And the other thing I had to do on that case is I had to go to, like, all these spring trainings, and they were in Florida. They were in Kissimmee, Florida. I'm like, oh shit, you can fly me home. It's fine.
Right.
Yeah, I totally had to go to the Astros. I said, this is so funny because we would drive by this and make fun of it, and now here I am.
Yeah, so that's true. So what the focus of probably the Astros was what, like Jeff Bagwell, Craig Biggio.
Jose Canseco.
Canseco. Well, yeah. Well, Canseco just decided to just write a book and blow the whole fucking thing.
I know. That was definitely some of the clues we had. I actually got to interview Billy Beane. Super nice guy. Yeah.
Moneyball.
Yeah. He was just like legit, just chill, nice guy. But no, they had a lot of issues, and then we realized they also shared the locker room with the football team. So, or no, the same area. Yeah, they had the same one. So they're like, who steroids are you talking about?
Yeah.
They're like, that's a good point.
See, that's what's so weird to me, because, and that's why you're probably going to spend more time on this than maybe you want, but this is just a huge area of interest to me at least. And the reason I say it's a huge area of interest to me is because I will preface everything I'm going to say going forward. I've probably said it on other podcasts, or at least in chats with other people, is there's not a single thing about steroids in sports, let alone baseball, that I care one bit about. I just don't. I don't think for 1 minute, if I were to ever have taken steroids or whatever anybody was accused of taking, it would have turned me into Barry Bonds. It wouldn't have. No. I may have been, I don't know, I may have been a slightly better Division II college baseball player, maybe. I don't know, but it wasn't going to turn me into a superhuman. That's my thing with it. But then also at the same time, it reminds me of a conversation I heard with Mark Cuban on an interview, the owner of the Dallas Mavericks, probably 6-7 years ago at this point. And I think we're probably getting to this point. If we're not already now, it may just be behind the scenes, is that we're going to get to a point with medicine that it's going to be individualized, I think, to the actual athlete. Under the care of the doctor, under all that stuff, like, hey, this is what matches your blood type, your DNA, whatever. This is what is the best for you that you should take. And if that's what's considered performance enhancing, okay, great. Let me see the best players in the world already as they do something completely safe and regulated and monitored by professionals, and how it turns them into even better athletes. That's what I want to see. I don't want to see me, the guy who tops out his fastball with Major League Baseball's curveballs, up there playing. I don't want to see that. I want to see
the best in the world, and how they can literally push it. Yeah.
I don't want to see me try to debate you in court, Renee. You know what I mean? Like I'm not on your level, but I want to see the people who are on your level in sports, as an example, do the best thing they possibly can. And like the whole legality behind steroids, I get it. It's a changing in the culture and society, like we've seen with a lot of things over the last 20 years.
But so has our society and culture,
Yeah.
Things are,
So that's what I'm prefacing by saying, when you were going through this, were you ever, as you learned more and more about who was and who wasn't, was there ever any part of you that felt like you were doing, like, how did you feel while you were doing this? Did you feel like you were doing good, or what was going to come of it was going to be like changing at the landscape in baseball and sports in general, or like, what did you feel as a 24-year-old, I guess, obviously, because that's important.
Well, knowing that
we're not as wise as we are today.
Yeah, for real. But I didn't care about baseball, didn't ever want to watch the game. Even now, like, I have trauma from this, and I won't go. People are, you come to a game? I'm like, nope, I'm good. It's not my thing, right? But
got it.
So with every case that I do, and particularly when I was in private practice in the corporate world, I had to find the meaning and the purpose that was gonna make me kind of push forward. And so for this case in particular, It was the notion that kids are watching, and if kids think it's okay, if my hero Barry Bonds or whoever is taking steroids, then I'm going to take steroids and what it does from a medical scientific perspective, if kids start taking it, it will diminish their growth and it will diminish all these, there's horrible side effects. So it's one thing if you're an adult and you want to do it, fine. But when you were, so that was for me was the rationale of why, I needed to push forward with it. But then, I'm kind of along the lines with you now, Eric. Now that I'm, 20 years, 15 years out, and I'm looking around, and I watched did you watch the Icarus documentary?
Yeah. Which I got something on that though when you're done, because I think it's
So my friend Jill, my friend Jill, she met the guy who directed it, and anyway, it was just. But so Rand and I are watching that, and just watching how Russia did not give a fuck.
Nope, not one fuck given.
And it's right, and it's like, who are they? But who are we to regulate? Well, I mean, I know the world, sports organizations, a whole nother thing. But I was just sitting there like, we're in a different world, and I don't know that it's if we're so. And for me, for Icarus, and I think what specifically cycling, it's about the recovery, and I'm sure that's the same thing with baseball, and that's the same thing. Like, people play their best in baseball because there's so many fucking games. I had no idea the season was that long. I said, no wonder people get hurt. Yeah, and I'm like, y'all can cut that down. No one needs to play. Well,
that's why this season has been the greatest thing ever. It's 60 games over like every game matters. It's every day. I love it. And now we're in the playoffs. I'm watching the Braves beat hopefully they beat the Dodgers, because I can't stand the fucking Dodgers. But anyway.
Yeah. So it's just like, I lost my train of thought.
You were talking about Icarus. Gotcha.
Oh, so the recovery time, right? Yep. So with sports, you even look at baseball, people are playing great in the beginning until you get injured or until your muscles are tired. But if you need to take something to recover, it's not being able to rest your muscles and not have the soreness is not going to make you throw the ball faster. It's not going to make you run faster. It's like none of that. And I even talked to, one of the first interviews I had was Andre Dawson, and knowing that dude was like,
he was amazing.
He was the
Chicago
shit.
Cubs.
And he's right. And at the time, not on, he was working for the Marlins at the time, and not on he wasn't on the Major League Baseball, like the Hall of Fame list yet. Because I had to research every single one of these people.
Yeah,
so
Dawson
I'm like,
took a few years.
Yeah. But just he's like, listen, everyone. He's like, you have to know how to hit the ball. You have to know how to do this and that.
Exactly.
Like taking this shot is not going to make you hit the ball or throw the ball or whatever. It's just it's the recovery aspect. And I've done a lot of work for as far as my physical health and my mental health, and it's like, you need some supplements sometimes. You need a little tea or this and that, to just get you back to even, and that's what life is like. You look at old people and they have their whatever, it's because that's what they need just to survive.
This is what I need. All right. And Maddie's got her wine. I mean, but that's my thing. So let me get to the Icarus thing before we miss out. Yeah. So what I found interesting about the Icarus thing is, like, he did it one year and he's like, man, I did so good. Let me see how much better I can do with this. And then it goes into the whole, like, he manages to uncover all this stuff at the same time. I know.
I don't
think
he
did
meant
you not notice
like
he did worse on the quote performance enhancing shit.
Right.
Like, if that was supposed to help him recover, it didn't. It wasn't working for him. He was doing worse than he did naturally, which brings me back to my original point, is that, yes, I see your side of it, but at the same time, just like Andre Dawson said, none of this stuff is going to make you into, I'm not going to become Andre Dawson, a Hall of Fame baseball player, just by being this average college talent who shouldn't have probably been on a college team.
Right. And I don't think, Eric, people are advocating saying, like, here, take steroids and it's going to make you the best thing in the world, because you still have to work. And that was probably the most pervasive thing. And that's why I'm like, if you're still doing it, putting in the work and doing the thing, then and so it was with the investigation, wasn't just steroids. It was like there was a list of stuff. Like, there would be certain, like, if you had a creatine powder or one of your protein mixes had something in it, that would show up. And you're like, really? Like, creatine, like, these guys need to build muscle and do whatever. Like, is that, so then it's like, is that
that's ever been proven to actually work?
Right. And so is that performance enhancing under your definition? Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
So what?
Coffee,
so you want
water when you're tired and thirsty?
I mean, seriously, all of this stuff is at some point naturally occurring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, but that's why I think this is why this means so much to me, because I think it was, as you also said, culturally, like 15 years ago compared to today.
Yeah. There's
I'm
way worse
not
things, yeah, kids can do and get, like, on Amazon. And you know what I mean? Like they could get
Renee.
stuff.
I drive down the highway in California. There are billboards for apps on weed delivery.
Yeah. Hmm.
Okay, now you're in Colorado. You probably
I'm
see
in
the same shit.
Colorado, man. We
Exactly.
we
Okay, so
started
you
this shit,
remember
so
when
it's
you and I
fine.
grew up in Florida,
Yeah.
like, oh my God, if you smoke marijuana, you're going to fucking jail and you're gonna
Oh
die.
yeah.
You're gonna
And
go
you
to
don't
hell when
even
you do
hang
die.
out with
Like,
those kids. Right.
right.
I didn't even, honestly, I was not, I
I
was
know.
so like out of the loop that I didn't
Yeah,
realize
you
people
were
were
the
doing
band nerd.
that. I was a band nerd, and we didn't, not that I knew of anyway. Some
Yeah,
people did like to snort pixie sticks up their nose, which was just so stupid. That's what we did
I
on the
mean, but
band bus, Eric.
kids
That's
do
what we did on the
everything.
band
Yeah.
bus. Snorted pixie
um,
sticks up our nose to, like, I don't even know why that came up, but that's that dumb shit we did.
hey, it's the rum. But my thing with that is that culturally, I think we're at a point, and
Hmm.
and this is what I would like to see, because I feel like this whole era is still it's still unnecessarily, in my opinion, because I grew up playing the game, and I tried to pursue it as much as I could because it's all I ever wanted to do. All I ever wanted to do was be a professional baseball player. It didn't work out, right? Because I wasn't good enough, and there was nothing I could have taken that would make me good enough. But those from that era, the best of the best, the Hall of Fame level athletes and players like Bonds, like McGuire, like Sosa, these people are still being demonized for the era
Yeah.
that they played in. But it was also, yes, there was a quote steroid era, if that's what we're going to do, but they were still the best within it.
Yeah.
Like they didn't go for, like, Barry Bonds wasn't just some scrub. That dude was a Hall of Fame level guy before all of a sudden all the stuff that he's accused of doing took place.
Right. And then didn't he go play another sport too and kill it?
No,
Was that
that
him?
was Michael Jordan, who went and played
No,
basketball.
not him. No, not, of course not him.
And
There was
he,
somebody. It wasn't Barry Bonds that played
no, Barry
football and
Bonds, he played baseball.
baseball.
I'm
All
gonna
right,
need you.
I
I'm gonna
take it
need you
back.
to
I take
figure
it.
out what.
I know. All right.
No,
It
but so
wasn't
that's my
Michael
thing, is
Jordan.
like the Hall of Fame, like, and I feel there's been a shift over the last few years, but unfortunately, like, these guys are going to run into these arbitrary rules about, oh, you're no longer eligible because you've exceeded your years of eligibility. Like it took Dawson for a while, but
Hmm.
Bond, Sosa, McGuire, the main three who've always been, targeted but never proven anything, whatever.
Hmm.
Rafael Palmeira, who literally went to Congress and lied. Like, I mean, that's different altogether. Like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah,
Let me
yeah.
talk to you about that in a second. But my point is, with this stuff, these guys are still the best that ever did it within that era. And, you still put them in because there are literal racists in the Hall of Fame. Okay.
Yeah.
Say what you want about Ty Cobb,
Yeah.
great baseball
Right,
player.
right.
The guy did not like you, Renee, only
Yeah,
because you
yeah,
look a
no.
little differently than me. That's that.
Yeah.
Like that's
Yeah.
real. So what you do is if you need to put a fucking asterisk by it, do it. Be like, hey, these are the best of the best in this era, and let them in,
Hmm.
because that's
Hmm.
what you cannot tell. This is how Hall of Fame to me has always been defined as. Can you tell the story of the sport with or without these players?
Yeah,
You
that's a
can't.
great way to put it.
Right?
That's a
You
wonderful
cannot tell the
definition.
story of
Yeah.
baseball in those years without Bonds, McGuire, and Sosa. You can't do it.
So you have to, unfortunately, lobby like the commission people that make up these stupid rules and like
Well,
change
you're
it.
the
That's how it
lawyer.
works.
Can't you do that? I'm a
No, that's no. Actually don't. I don't care enough, but
yeah.
I know you do. So find who,
I
get
do.
a little group and have it be lobbied
I
and say,
know.
listen,
I've got so many fights I need to pick first
I
before
know
that
you
one.
really need to pick some higher ones, sweetheart. There's a lot going on.
There's a
Than
lot going on.
whether or not those men get, because I think the true like champions of the sport and the people who love the sport like know who they are. They don't need the story told
Exactly.
that way. Like you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know what? I honestly.
There, I just gave you a book topic. Go write your book about, like,
You want me to go write a book?
right.
I've got
The Hall of
I've,
Fames that should have been that are in my heart or whatever. I don't know.
there's so much stuff I need. Excuse me. I need to write that I just
I
haven't.
know. I know. I'm in the same boat. I just have my little list of, okay, this is another topic, and one day it'll come out.
It'll come out. I still want, what I still really want to write is my, like, mini series script of my time in drill sergeant school, because it was the funniest 9 weeks.
Oh, great. You should totally do that.
I know, because everyone's so used to seeing, like, I think there's been a few recent attempts at, dumb military humor, but at the same time, it's never really caught on or kept, like, the most stuff that people see is just like, oh, the military is like this super serious and everybody's a hero thing that's presented to them. It's like, nah, we're just some fucking idiots sometimes, and you guys should see how it really goes. So that's what I'd like to do, but because it was literally the funniest 9 weeks of my life. And the shit that we did and the stories I've been able to piece together from other people that were in my class. Like, there was 120 of us. I think like 98 or 99 of us graduated. But talking to some people over the years and just taking notes and never really doing anything with the notes, this shit is funny. Like, it's funny. It's funny enough to where it's not just funny for us, like, who are in, like, everybody else who's not and doesn't need to know what the military or the army is will still get it and be like, yo, you guys are dumb, funny.
I totally think you should do it. Yeah.
I know.
Just get a little tape recorder and start jotting down, and go get you a ghostwriter, and they can start it.
No ghostwriter. This is all me. No one's allowed to come in on
I'm
this.
just saying they can get you started, and then sometimes you just need to start.
I know.
Yeah.
So why did Rafael Palmeiro feel like he should go to Congress and lie?
I don't know anything about this fool.
You don't remember that?
No.
When they started doing the congressional hearings with these players, like, Rafael Palmeiro went and he was like, I have never, ever taken steroid. Basically, you should go watch that congressional hearing. And then, like, literally a few weeks or months later, he was like the main one that was proven to have, like, done all this shit.
Those are the ones that come out and make the big stink because they have to, like, act like they don't. It's that simple.
But what, in your opinion, as a lawyer, and
it sounds like me like he perjured himself and he should go to jail.
But why would they do
end of
that
story.
At that
And if
level?
I'm his lawyer, I'm going to tell him don't say that, because you just not. I can't counsel you to commit a crime. So
you're going to talk to Congress.
Yeah.
This is probably where he
might have been on other things and just whatever, his performance enhancing.
Yeah.
What have you.
So that was all right. So okay, so you did that entire investigation. How long did that take you?
Almost 2 years.
Almost 2 years.
Yeah. It was literally, so the report came out December 2007, and that was literally, I moved to Denver in December 2007, and because I remember the senator mailed it to my house and with a handwritten note thanking me for all my hard work. And but yeah, that's when that was. And then I moved to Denver.
Did they send you some rum for your service?
No
rum.
No. I did have a nice collection of baseballs that I after.
Oh, that's cool. Do you still have them, or did you sell them already?
Yeah, they're actually in my office. But I have one from each of the teams that I interviewed.
What do lawyers like to drink?
Scotch.
Oh,
I've heard professors make a lot of Scotch references. And
whatever.
Martinis. Yeah, I've definitely been to a couple martini lunches with lawyers.
Maddie likes to drink martinis when we go out, and she always asks for extra dirty. I think they're gross. I think any.
It's a salty, briny thing. It's like, if you like salt, that's what that is.
It's
disgusting. And I prefer vodka martinis. I don't like gin martinis.
Yeah. Gin is one of the worst creations outside of tequila ever.
Oh yeah, dude. My last, it was our first year law school exams. That was the first time I tried it, and I decided to shoot it like it was tequila.
Gin?
And gin. Oh, yeah. I was like, I'll just have a shot with some lime, because I'm 21 and didn't know shit. And it was terrible, and I definitely puked that night.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that, because you went to Stetson, where, remember, Chris Maloney and Loyal Kaczynski, they went. And I remember going to hang out with them at one of their frats, or whatever.
Sigma Phi.
Yeah. But their drink,
SIGAP.
Yeah, SIGAP. Their frat drink was the Tom Collins, which is made with gin.
God, yeah.
And I used to just pretend like, this stuff's so good.
Drink.
Oh God, it's so bad. Anything gin related, there's nothing good about gin. So if you're a gin drinker out there, there's no reason for you to be listening to this anyway. Because there's a show called Bourbon. It's There Will Be Bourbon, not There Will Be Gin. No one gives a fuck about gin. So anyway.
Nobody does. That thing is terrible. I don't know what its purpose is.
Well, I'll tell you what its purpose is. Its purpose is distilleries need to sell something while the good stuff ages. So they make vodka and gin because you can make it
vodka's
instantly
not
and sell it.
bad. Vodka's fine.
That's why. I'm just saying.
It's comforted me many a night.
Well, hey, maybe you can get the gin industry shut down. Did you ever think about taking that case up?
No, because I don't care about that either. I got real issues like opioids and homelessness and
how's that
pandemic.
Going? You want to hear a funny story? So anyway, we just moved in.
I love how we go from like opioid pandemic to funny story.
Well, you said homeless, so it's a funny story. It happened like 2 days ago. No, was it yesterday? I think it was yesterday. It was yesterday. Yeah. So we're in this really brand new, super nice complex here in Napa, but unfortunately, literally right next to us is a homeless camp. Mm-hmm. It's par for the course in California, especially the Bay Area.
Oh, they're moving around here in Denver too. It's until you clean it up and they go to the next one.
So we're sitting out by the pool. I'm sitting there reading, and all of a sudden I'm like, what's that dude doing? This dude jumps the fence because he couldn't get in because the fence is, there's like
it's gated.
The gates to the pool are, you need your little fob to get in, and he can't get in, so he moves the trash can over, steps on that, hops the fence. He's in. Yeah. He's wearing boots, black pants, and a black polo shirt. Dives into the pool, immediately gets out, hops back over the fence, gets on his bike, and rides off. And we're all just looking at each other like, did this shit just happen? Like, the homeless people out here are wild, man. They really, really are.
So here in Colorado, we have like streams and creeks, and there's actually one right here by my apartment, and that's where they go and bathe.
That's better.
And luckily, Denver actually we have mobile bathrooms that kind of go on different streets in the city, and they just so people can take a shower or use the restroom.
I would use that, business. To be honest with you.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's one of my first cases in Denver when I became a city attorney was to convert whether it was a homeless shelter versus a community center was the legal issue, a zoning issue. Anyway, long story short, the whole purpose of the community center, which did stay open, was a $9 million facility. And the reason is so that people had somewhere to go during the day to take a shower, have a nice meal, just get away from the elements and just feel like a decent human being. So there are resources if you're in the right city that have places where they don't have to jump into your pool. But yeah, that's our biggest problem right now as far as the government, especially in a pandemic. It's been a crisis.
They've shoved these people into like hotels out here. But I think what it's created is a whole other issue because you talked about working remote. People in the Bay Area out here, especially in San Francisco, they're working remote because they have no choice, but they're also figuring out they don't need to be there anymore.
Nope.
So what's that good?
A lot of people are on that. So
yeah, well, because in the Army or the military in general, we like to call this thing called second and third order effects. Like, if we do this, what happens next, and then what happens after that, right? So the second and third order effects of this pandemic and forcing people to work from home and realizing they no longer need to be there. Well, the third order effect is going to be buildings. What does that do to a city and its economy and the market? And so, I'm just curious to see how this is going to play out in the next X amount of months because I think it's a very real thing.
No, there's ways that the city, we're saving money in that regard, but then we've lost so much, because especially for our, revenue as a tax base. So, yeah.
So at the end of the day, when you finished your time on the Mitchell investigation, what was like the overall outcome that you want people to remember? Because it's been 13 years? A lot of people
13 years.
It's probably forgotten by many people, but people who are actual fans of baseball definitely remember it. I remember it. But what was the ultimate outcome of that?
Well, so there was evidence that there were certain players that did have performance enhancing at least products. It wasn't specific to steroids, and it was a recommendation of like, what do we do, and what do you do with the ones that we are aware that we're using now or at the time. But I think, as the report has the information. If you're a baseball fan, like, okay, so you judge for yourself. If you know that these players use this and you saw how they performed, does that change your love of the sport or them? It's your decision, right? So I don't think it really does anything beyond that, but it was definitely to send a message of steroids are bad, don't have kids do it, and all of that. And I think now there's probably way worse things people could be taking, if at all. And you move on to the next problem. But I think they devoted a lot of time, money, and resources to something that probably wasn't as important as some other issues that they could have dealt with.
Yeah. And that's why I said, like, we're if we're not already in it and we just don't know it yet, I think we're going to get to a point where Mark Cuban was talking about, like, look, medical research isn't going to get worse. Like, performance enhanced, like the stuff that was going on at Balco, it's not going to just get worse.
There was an intellectual argument about whether the Tommy John surgery was a performance enhancing thing. Because when Tommy John's had that surgery, he was throwing a lot better. So
well, also when he did it, that was a career ender. Now that's just like par for the course.
Right.
Like if you got Tommy John surgery when he got it, you were never throwing again. But now those guys have gotten so good at performing that surgery. Same thing with tearing an ACL in football. You tore your ACL in football, that was it. Now, bro, we'll see you in 6 to 9 months. You'll be good.
Your career's done. Yeah. Right.
Same with did Achilles. Kobe Bryant was the perfect example. Everyone's like, oh, Kobe Bryant's never going to play again. Like, do you guys know who Kobe Bryant's surgeon is? That dude came back and still was Kobe Bryant. Like, he didn't get worse.
Yeah, right, exactly. But that's the whole point, right? We want society to grow and prosper and have advancements. So that includes with your athletes.
But that goes back to the core of my argument with all of this is like, what baseball is still so beholden to tradition. They're the main sport that is
America's sport, right?
Yeah, but they're the main major sport that is still tied and places so much stock in their numbers in terms of stats that they hold every one of those records sacred. And when someone breaks them, like, do you think the NFL gives a shit that the quarterbacks in this era are destroying the Dan Marino and the Joe Montana's records of 20, 30 years ago? No, they think it's great for business and bottom line. And
my boy Tom Brady. So what is it? He's a vegan.
Hey, how'd he do against the Bears on Thursday? Just real quick.
I don't know. I stopped watching.
Oh, I'll tell you what happened if you want to know. He lost. And that was the game I was supposed to be at with my dad. I had tickets for us in Soldier Field and they canceled. Yeah, motherfucker. That would have been a great game. No, I love Tom Brady.
Back to my point. Like he's like a vegan and he eats whatever. Like he does all this spiritual shit. And like, is that performance enhancing? No, because the motherfucker could throw a ball well before that. Did you see his combine video? He couldn't run for shit, but he could throw a ball, right? And that's his job. And so when you for the next 20 years, you develop your craft and you also learn to refine your body and know what your recovery needs and all of that. That is you being a good athlete.
I agree 100% with you. And you got to understand, not everybody's made like Tom Brady. A lot of people just want what that sport brings them. So they don't put the work in. So look at somebody
like, this is the counter argument. This is kind of a dumb one, but so Usain Bolt, that dude, fastest man in the world, he would eat like 2 McDonald's cheeseburgers right before he ran. Like, I'm talking like 2 minutes before he ran.
That's good calories.
So imagine if he didn't eat that, what that would have done to his performance. Like maybe if he had, I don't know, an energy bar or some breadfruit and ackee or something. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like there's, and so there's another thing in Jamaican like culture that the reason why we're so fast and good at sports is because of the food we eat, because we eat all like natural, like everything is fruit, so we have a fruit called breadfruit, there's like all of it's right there from the land, and it's got a lot of protein in it.
It's true.
So anyway, you know me, I can go on a food tangent.
I know you can. You do have some solid food knowledge. There's a great picture I remember posting about this. So there's a picture at the finish of, it was either the last Olympics or the one before it. Usain Bolt's finishing, and then everybody else is like literally, I don't know, an arm's length, if not more, behind him. And I remember posting like this picture is the fastest man in the. Oh wait, no, this is a picture of the fastest men in the world. The other is Usain Bolt, because it's like he's that much faster than the fastest men in the world. It's not like it wasn't even fair to see what he was doing. And I don't know.
Imagine if that dude had a little extra something, like what you were saying, your point of like, it might be great. No, I think it's like breadfruit and ackee. I don't think it's anything else.
Was he supposed to run this year? Was he gonna
Oh,
run?
I don't know. He's busy with his new baby. He had COVID too. He didn't really have any
I think,
symptoms,
like I
but
said, we've all got COVID at this point.
yeah.
Whatever. Just
I
let it,
know.
just let it run its course. You know.
Right, right.
But no, that's right. I forgot about the Olympics. Those got postponed until next year. But I didn't know if he was
Yeah,
going
no,
to
he
run or
was
not.
no, he's done. He's done.
Is
He's
he?
done with the Olympics.
I
He's
thought maybe
still
he'd at least
running.
be on the relay or something. How old
Now
is he?
he's like
Mid 30s,
30,
30?
fucking 30, 33 or something. No, I
Yeah,
think he might be
that's like old
36,
man length
37.
for
Yeah, he just
sprinting.
had a new baby too, and he's just gonna, at this point, just
Yeah.
live your life.
But isn't
Good.
like sprinting, is it like being a sprinter probably like the easiest sport to train for? Like, oh, I guess I'll just go out and run today.
Yeah, really,
It's like,
really.
that's all you
I
got to
mean,
do.
you
It's
got to
like,
train
oh,
those muscles, though. You got to train and loosen up
that's
those
true.
muscles.
But Bolt
Yeah,
he was always so lanky.
and it's like the thing about that's the thing because I'm tall and remember I did
Yeah, you
track
were.
and
Yeah.
I wasn't good at the sprinting. I was good
No,
at mine was the 400, the 440 because I
that was
could
like
run
Michael
fast, but
Johnson.
I had a little bit I could do a little distance, but don't ask me to do 2 or 3
Yeah.
laps or I definitely won't run a mile. They put me in the mile. I said, don't do this. I have asthma. I can't be
I
doing
got
that,
asthma.
Lord. I said, I need the quick race.
Yeah.
But you know who always did well were like the tiny little Hispanic girls. They would run, and I'm
Yeah,
just
that's
like,
weird,
why?
isn't
Because
it?
they had such smaller legs and limbs, right?
Yeah, less
So it's
oxygen.
either the tall people or the small people. But I don't know. It was strange, but they were fast,
Yeah,
very
I
fast.
think what we've realized throughout the history of just elite athletes, sports, men, whatever, women, you probably could dial it down a little bit more specific to women in terms of their height because their elite sports are so much they're limited, I guess. There's not a
Mm-hmm.
women's football, baseball, like you know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
the elite women athletes are doing a few things. You could probably study that a little bit more. But for
Yeah.
men, I feel like the elite athlete across any spectrum, whether it's strength, whether it's speed, whether it's jumping, football, whatever. Yeah, everyone's like, oh, the NBA is the best athletes in the world. I'm like, I don't know if that's true. They're the best tall athletes in the world. But I think in terms of like strength, speed, quickness, all that good stuff, I think still the magic parameter is probably like 5'9" to like 6'1", 6'2" maybe in terms of explosiveness and
Well, I
everything.
think it depends on the sport and stuff.
Yeah,
Because
you got outliers, but you know.
yeah, I feel like the best athletes in the world are like fucking snowboarders that come off a helicopter and fly down a mountain
Yeah,
and do flips and shit.
that's
Like
some other shit.
that's
Exactly.
that's what I see here in Colorado, and
Yeah.
I'm like, oh,
No, it's
and
true.
it's actually frustrating because they have such good dexterity, they're so strong
Their
and
VO2
fearless.
max and all that. Their
Right.
cardio shit is on another level.
Imagine if you put them on a basketball court and a football, like whatever, because they
See, but
are.
that's I don't know if that translates because let me give a good example. And
I
this
agree. I don't necessarily think it does.
Well, this
But
is me
yeah.
gonna nerd out, and we're gonna get into some nuances of shit, right? So you obviously know I'm a CrossFit nerd, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Rich Fronin was, in my opinion, still now. Granted, Matt Fraser's doing some stuff. Who's gonna rival it, and he may be the next coming, whatever. But Rich Froning was the one guy who was just blew everyone away and came out of nowhere and did that. And they tested his VO2 max, and it was off the charts. So he would obviously be elite in whatever sport you could utilize to do VO2 max. He's also extremely strong. He's also extremely fit. He can do pretty much everything physically you want someone to do. But
Mm-hmm.
he went to a Division II college baseball team and basically wasn't going to make it. So he is
Mm-hmm.
not great enough as an athlete to even be decent in baseball.
Yeah.
But in anything you want to test him at physically from like combine standpoint or, hey, what can you do in as an individual? So that's where I feel like these things, they don't automatically transfer over. Like, yeah, I can respect the Olympic level skiers, snowboarders, their VO2 max. Like those guys they're on another level. Like I can't do that shit. But at the same time, I don't think they're going to beat LeBron James in one-on-one, just like he can't go snowboard with him. You know what I mean?
Right. I was dating this guy who was he was ATF, and I think he was Special Forces in the Navy.
I remember this guy.
Yeah. So he was 6'3", beautiful, and he just extremely fit. And I remember like we were talking about his workouts, and he was like, I am what was he deadlift like 400 pounds or something.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, okay. Like, whatever. And I said, well, what are you working out for? And like, is it for work and stuff? And he said, I respected him for this. He's like, I don't need to work out. I work out so that I can be functional. So I can get as big as I need to or whatever, but I need all my things to work. So I need to be flexible. I need to do it. So in case something goes down, especially because, you know, he's a military guy, something goes down, I need to be able to go. Right. And so like he was one of the responders during the Aurora movie theater shooting.
Oh shit. Yeah, I remember that.
And it was like,
it's all coming back. Shit.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was like, you know, you need to be ready for anything. And that means your body needs to work for you at that time. So it's, you know, it's like, I could get big, I could do all this stuff, but if I can't do my job or at least be mobile enough to go fishing, ride my bike and play basketball, then what's the point? You know?
Yeah, I mean, and that's
some people can take it to that level.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. I mean, I learned all that from my father, but I mean, I didn't really get into it until, honestly, I didn't take lifting and working out seriously until I was in the Army and deployed. And I wasted a lot of good years, probably. What's that?
Yes, you did. I remember.
Yeah. But
there was a different Eric in 6th grade, and then there was the high school Eric. Then there was
I was a chunk.
You always had a nice backside, though. I appreciate
thanks.
that.
I still have it. But
I know you do. But now it's, you know.
Yeah. So, but now to this day, that's the same thing. Mm-hmm. Like, you know, I'm 39 years old. What do I need to go down every morning and go down to and do my lifting and then go to the gym once I'm during the day? Why do I go do that stuff? Exactly for why your ex said. Like, when shit needs to happen, I want to be able to do it, but also I don't want to be one of these people who's just waiting to die. And no. I have that stuff ingrained in me just from my DNA, but regardless of how great or not so good I was as an individual athlete, I still want to see what I can do.
Yeah, no, and I think our bodies, you know, as I've gotten older, because I didn't working out was not my thing either. Yeah. It really just until like after I had a baby and as I got a little bit older, I'm like, oh, actually might have to do something. I mean, I did find yoga, which just helped, you know, especially kept my muscles lean and tight and everything. But yeah, it's just one of those things where as you grow, you're like, oh man, I wish to God I had the work ethic I had now when I was in high school and an athlete. Like I didn't give a fuck. I had ice cream for breakfast. I had ice cream for lunch. I would drive to Publix and go buy ice cream and eat that because that's what I could do. It didn't affect my body, didn't affect my performance. But if I had that and yoga and just, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Those are those things that I wish as an athlete. And I see now kids. Yeah, kids now get it. Like I see high schoolers in yoga classes. I'm like, yeah, well, shit. I should have done yoga night.
I mean, that's the cool thing about Jazara. Like she does, you know, she's doing the whole virtual school thing still, but their PE class, like they have to do literal workouts from these websites and these YouTube videos and submit them every like they have to do stuff. What was our PE class? Go sit around. Yeah, we didn't do shit. We changed
out. You played basketball. I remember
that. Not really.
Yeah, or you just sat around in your little cliques and talked about everybody. That's
like nobody did anything. Like nobody did anything. I remember
the only one day. What the hell was that? I do remember.
Is there a break-in at the Goble residence? Yeah.
No, I don't know. I don't have any animals in here. I know what the problem is. I do remember. What was it? Field day.
Field day.
Field day. It's when we had to like. That's when people could show their athleticism. I remember there was always a race and then, you know, all those other little goofy things. It was basically like a track meet, you know.
That's true. I was terrible at it. Like once we got to high school, that's because I wasn't.
You're growing, like your body, you don't, nobody knows what they are, know what their thing is.
Yeah.
Some people think they do, but it's what's forced down to you about your parents. You don't really know till you get in the world. And
I was just dumb. And like I said, I didn't apply anything I was being told until it was too late.
Yeah, exactly. Well, no one, Eric, I don't think nobody that I knew told me anything about dieting, exercise, whatever. We're immigrants. We just came, we were surviving and still trying to have our little Jamaica in our household and just not really paying attention. But even though that's what I had at home in the world, I was living in the United States in Florida with all these different cultures and trying to figure it all out. But these were not things anyone told us. And that's why with my kids, I want to show them like, hey, we're going to eat these things and do this and that because they can either take it or leave it when they're done. But at least they have a framework.
And
Yeah.
I still, now that I've got my equipment again set up, like Jazara is here back. She's back to
Mhm.
lifting. Like she's amazing when it comes to the stuff that she's
Yeah.
done over the past 2 years. But when she gets right back in it, like she has, like kid's got perfect form. Granted, I taught her it, but she actually learned it. Like
Yeah, yeah,
she's
yeah.
she's got a really cool like ability to do stuff that you tell her and she won't quit. And I just wish we would have
That's
utilized and
awesome.
harnessed
Yeah.
that stuff sooner. You already know all this stuff, like not to bore the audience of whoever
Yeah.
listens to this thing, but you know all these gripes I've had over her years. But
Hmm.
no, I think it's cool because you're right. Like Jade, especially, like you don't want these kids that we have to grow up not knowing the stuff that we do. And if we don't tell them, then that's our fault.
Yeah.
Because yeah, they got to learn some stuff the hard way, but we could, ease it a little bit, you know?
Mhm.
So that's
Mhm.
my thing is I just want her to take away from the time when she's no longer with me and she's on her own. Like, look, do something every day. I don't care what it
Well,
is,
yeah,
just do
but
something.
your kids are paying attention. Just like I think about the stuff that my parents have taught me that I've taken with me. It's like it's subtle shit, but it's still stuff that
Yeah,
it's
it's
a
there.
made a big difference in my life, you know?
And
So
real
yeah,
quick, before we transition
yeah,
on, I just want everyone to know
yeah.
who is listening and watching. If you already understand what Renee has done through her life, she's got a lot of awards and shit from graduating through college at the highest levels of her
Mhm.
class. Super, I don't know, what is it, tier one law school, went to some of the greatest law firms ever, about to be a judge at some point. And if you want to know how you can accomplish that yourself, you need to eat ice cream 3 times a day while you're in high school.
Mhm.
That's what
Yeah,
we've
exactly.
uncovered tonight.
As a like three varsity athlete, that's what you did.
Eat ice cream three
Still,
times. What is your favorite ice
yeah.
cream flavor?
Oh, fucking Publix vanilla ice cream, dude. That
Publix
is
is
the
it in? Is Publix in Colorado?
no. I'm talking about
Exactly.
that's when I go to Florida. The first stop, besides going to the Jamaican patty places, I said,
Really
my mom, I said, I'm like, y'all need to have Publix ice
interesting.
cream. But that, if you look at the ingredients, it's like eggs, milk,
Yeah, the
vanilla.
five ingredient. That's why I go to Tillamook
It's like,
Farms. So Tillamook
yeah.
Farms up in Oregon,
No,
that's the
no,
same
I know
thing.
that, but yeah, we
Yeah,
get their
five
cheese here. But I'm
five
just
ingredients.
like
That's all you
Publix
need.
ice cream, and it's still like they changed the
It's
packaging, which
delicious.
irritated me. But last when I was home in Florida this past summer, yeah, it's still got it. And even Jade, I was like Jade, because she tries to think she knows more than me. I'm like, listen, I know about ice cream. So I made her try the pie, and she had it before. She's like, yeah, it really is creamy, mommy. And then we went down to Fort Lauderdale, and they had a Carvel ice cream. I don't know if you remember
Yep,
that.
soft serve, very soft
Oh
serve.
yeah, and so I remember that from when we lived in New York for just
Yep,
1 year,
Miami.
and
I remember Carvel from Miami.
oh yeah, with the sprinkles. So I
Yep.
took the kids, and I'm like, all right, so this is. They think I'm full of shit, right? They're like, you know what you're talking about. So I said I let them choose, but I'm like, I'm telling you, this vanilla, like calling it the sprinkles, because that's what my sister and I got. And so they eat like, my God, this is so creamy and soft and delicious. I said, I
It
know.
really is.
I've lived on this planet for 39 years, and I'm a ice cream expert, and I'm telling you.
I know
So
what I'm
stop.
doing.
Right. I gotta sit there, but that's the thing about them, which I appreciate, is they gotta learn for themselves. They gotta sense it for themselves and make their own decisions. But
Correct.
it's so frustrating. I'm like, don't talk to me about ice cream. So
Have
speaking of
you?
which, I think I might go get me a
I was gonna
popsicle.
say, have you made your own ice cream yet?
I have. Was
Yeah,
one
I
of
got
the
my ice cream maker.
I got it was one of my from my first marriage. It was one of our wedding gifts, and I remember my ex saying, "We'll never use it. We'll never use it." And I'm like, "Well, I'm going to use it." So I used it 3 times. But it was just one of those things. Living in Colorado, it was like you wanted to make ice cream very often. And now I'm completely off sugar and ice cream. As much as it makes my mouth happy, it makes my tummy very unhappy. So I'm
Yeah.
off. I'm off ice
Fortunately, I
cream.
will imbibe in all the ice cream on your behalf
Yeah,
because
it's fine.
there's certain things I won't give up.
I mean,
I've
when I
already
go
accepted
home, I
that.
will have my Publix vanilla, and if my
Yeah,
tummy hurts, well, goddamn it,
it is what it
it's
is.
my
Yeah.
tummy's problem. Yeah.
I mean, look, there's an old saying that people will do anything for their vices, and I agree. Look, there goes Maddie. Maddie,
Hi,
real quick, say hello to Renee.
Hi.
All right, those two have met. If you're
Yes,
watching,
check that off.
yeah, we got that checked
Awesome.
up. I mean, we are going to come visit Colorado at some point. We have a lot of
Dude,
planned.
it's been like I've lived here 12 years now,
I know,
13 years.
I
And
know, and I've
yeah, and
never
I'm
been
just,
once.
yeah, no. So really, you're full of shit. You tell
Well,
me you're
I'm
not
not full of
coming.
shit. First of all, I've been here 4 years, and I don't remember any visits.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Yeah, I visited. And when was the last time? Oh, in Florida. I forgot that you
Yeah,
haven't, you
yeah,
only been
Florida.
here.
I'm talking about California. So
yeah,
that's where
I
we're at.
visited in like March.
Okay, you're right. We did meet.
For
All
like
right, but that
10
was
minutes.
that was hardly a real
No, that
meeting.
was
But anyway,
terrible.
yes.
I only remember it
In the
because we
middle of
were
a fucking
distant.
pandemic. That was great.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but anyway, like Maddie and I, we do need to get out to Colorado. I mean, we've talked about this. I think she went out to Babe, did you go out to Colorado? Yeah, she went skiing. She knows.
Oh,
She
yeah.
goes skiing up there. Like she does that stuff. I don't. I just drink. Steamboat.
Yeah.
She was in
No,
Steamboat.
honestly, you and my husband, I would love to just sit back and watch the two of you. You're very similar in a lot of ways.
Grant and I, we're gonna get down on some bourbon. It's overdue.
Yeah, you can do your bourbon, and two of you sit in the hot tub and look at the stars, and I'll just watch them.
Well, as long as you don't sell the house before we get out there. I mean, at this point.
No, I mean that's the plan. Yeah. So you need to get out here soon.
We will. All right,
we can still do that in Denver, but.
Let me, how you doing on time over there? You good?
I'm good. What is it? Oh, it's not, I got another hour before I go to bed. So
okay,
you're good.
She's got an hour. All right. So just out of curiosity, I don't know if you know it, but it took you 2 years for this Senator Mitchell investigation. How much did that cost?
It was like a gazillion dollars.
What did you guys bill? That's what I want to know.
Oh, it was something absurd. I can't even remember now, but I remember because it was like we obviously had to bill my time whenever, but it was because we knew it was going to get scrutinized. I think he just sent him a bill that said for services rendered for like $9 million or something. Oh my God. And that was it. And yeah.
So do you get paid out of that at all, or were you just on your salary?
Yeah. Yeah, just nothing. My salary. Yeah. So how those firms work.
Not that you were probably doing bad, salary. But still.
No, you have a base salary, and then depending if you go over your hours, which I certainly did, then you get a.
I remember what your hourly rate was. I think you told me. I remember something.
No, as a first year associate at a big firm, I was billed out at like 2 something.
I thought it was like 330 for some reason. I don't know.
No, it was something dumb. I wouldn't work that. No,
I was not, because I remember that. Right? I'm like, damn, Renee's making that much an hour?
No, that's not what I'm making.
Oh,
that's
I know, but it's
build
just
me out at. Yeah,
exactly.
So, but it's the overhead of the firm, and then obviously there's the partners, like all their knowledge that's being imputed to you. But yeah, by the time, but you get to that point where that makes it the big companies that really could only afford you.
It's true.
Yeah. But now I definitely know I'm worth whatever I'm, and then it's funny, I'm a government lawyer now, and I'm not worth shit.
You're not worth it. Yeah, well, that's the downside, right? Public service.
No, so now they bill us out at like $100 an hour if we get our fees or something. I said, y'all need to bump that up at least to 200. This is 15 years of prime experience, right?
Yeah.
So,
so you went to Colorado next, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
What'd you get into when you got to Colorado?
So I was at a firm called Wheeler Trigg. It was a litigation boutique. So all they did was litigation. So no transactional lawyers or anything, because it's a different personality. Transactional lawyers are people that want to sit and read and write. Dorks. And they're usually introverts, right? Yeah, and then litigators are the extroverts and right. They're the ones that are up, in the TV and whatever. I've been watching recently How to Get Away with Murder. I hadn't seen it. So many. Well, first of all, I don't watch legal shows because once I took evidence, I realized it was all bullshit. Anyway.
That's the same reason I don't like watching Army movies, because they're all stupid.
Oh, I'm sure the same thing with doctor movies. Like doctors,
nobody wants to watch that.
They just take it and glorify it. So, which sucked because I used to really love the practice when I was in law school, and I just stopped watching it. But so anyway, it's been literally 20 years since I've watched a law show, and so people are always like, oh, they want to talk to me about Law and Order, and I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about. I don't want to talk about that. So a lot of people have recommended this to me, and I just started watching it last night. I'm like, this is good. Like some of it's bullshit, but the drama aspect of it, I'm like, oh yeah, that is the definition of mens rea. Like, look at them teaching people. Like, it's been great. Gosh, what was my point?
I don't know, but I like it.
So anyway, I'm talking about just that personality, right? Where she's this big, powerful force. And those are the people who are politicians. Like they're the litigators, right? So I go to a litigation shop where it's all litigators. There's a small litigation boutique, about 70 lawyers at the time. And so I became a toxic tort lawyer. And so I represented companies like GE and Foster Wheeler. I did asbestos defense. So I did a lot of, I know everything there is to know about asbestos.
Beaumont Middle School, see, that's it.
Oh, right, yeah. how it was like pervasive in the Navy. And so I learned a lot about cancer and mesothelioma. So, and then I did some medical malpractice, medical device, and and it's interesting. So the companies that I was representing, GE Healthcare was one, McKesson, those big companies, I'm now suing in the opioid lawsuit. So it's like full fucking circle.
Damn.
Yeah. So I'm like, I was representing you here, and now I know how you work. And here we are, on the government side, because your opioids are killing our society. So anyway, sorry, back to Wheeler Twiggs. So I did a lot of that, and I basically flew around the country trying cases, because we were just their litigators. And it would be sometimes we would come in like 2 weeks before trial, and they're like, give us the file and say, go try the case. So I worked with a really dynamic team. My the partner I worked for was actually in Army Special Forces. And we talked about him. So he just having that training was phenomenal, and a great guy. So but I really traveled a lot and practiced in different states. But I had Jade. And I'm like, I can't travel like this, and I need to be home. I need to be in Colorado. So I had my license in Colorado for 3 years and never practiced in a courtroom here. So after I had Jade, I'm like, I had to figure something else out. So I ended up, long story short, went to
no, we don't do long story short here. We do short story long.
Yeah, whatever. So Lewis Roker Rothgerber was the next firm I went to. It was actually called Rothgerber Johnson and Lyons then, and it was like the Colorado firm, and it was litigators and transactional lawyers, and it definitely felt more like a family. And that's where I became like a full Colorado lawyer. And there I worked on, it was great because First Amendment was kind of my thing. And so I was able to do First Amendment religious institutions law.
Yeah, I was about to say, what's the First Amendment again?
Yeah. Focusing on the religious clauses, but also free speech, or all that stuff. So I represented the Catholic Church here in Denver and in Philadelphia. And, they have been in the news quite a bit, but I was on those things that I cannot talk about. And that certainly changed my perspective on certain things. So that was the only
come visit.
Yeah, I certainly had to that was one time I had to fly to Philadelphia and help with some investigations and stuff. So exciting, but I'm like, I didn't come here to travel. But and then that's really where I did a lot of my condemnation work. So I'm a condemnation lawyer for the city. And so really honing in my constitutional skills between the First Amendment and the Fifth Amendment. I was able to just try cases and just be more focused in Colorado. Okay. And then I sat on a bus, and again, long story short, and I got roped into joining the city attorney's office, and now I'm their lead litigator. So instead of as a government, if they had something go wrong, they would have a transactional lawyer do the litigation, or they'd farm it out of house. And the city attorney at the time was like, well, that's dumb. Why don't we just poach some of the best talent and have them come here and be our litigators? So that's really what I am.
That's what you do now.
That's what I do now.
Real quick, we need to back up because I do this with every military person I bring on, and they start speaking in their speak. Quickly, First Amendment and Fifth Amendment, what are they in dumb people's words who don't know?
Okay, so the First Amendment
not dumb people. I'm sorry. You're not dumb if you don't know what the First and Fifth Amendment are.
But I can summarize. I have my little copy of the Constitution I always have next to me. So the First Amendment are those really.
There is.
I'm a paper person. I have my little Constitution copy that I got when I got sworn in.
It's right here.
Oh, that's so funny. Anyway, don't distract me. The First Amendment is they're all your basic rights, but these are the ones of freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of the press, freedom of association. So those are the things that have been very prevalent lately with all the protests and things. So that's that. The Fifth Amendment is there's actually a lot of things packed into the Fifth Amendment, mainly, you can't incriminate yourself, the pursuit of or life, liberty, and property. And that's also the eminent domain clause that the government cannot take private property without just compensation.
Big focus of Yellowstone. Have you watched Yellowstone? What? All right, keep going. No. We'll get back to this.
No, that's it. Those are the basics.
Well, how have you not watched Yellowstone?
Because I don't watch TV, dude. We've
You don't
talked about
have to.
this.
It's a show. You can just literally stream and binge watch the entire thing. Anyway, Yellowstone, I would recommend.
What's it on? Is it on Netflix?
It's on
Is it on
Peacock of all random things.
Oh, I've heard
For the
about that. I don't know.
Well, anyway, Kevin Costner's the main character, and there's some other
Okay.
really good actors and actresses in it. But anyway, I would highly recommend you check it out. There's 3 seasons worth. We just finished it. But eminent domain comes into play in the 3rd season. So I guess the crux of it is he's this big ranch owner up in Montana, and there's a lot of shit going on. It's a very good show. I think you would absolutely love it. Grant probably would like it too, because it seems like it'd be something up his alley as well. But anyway, I would say you check that out. But anyway, now what I really want to get into is the Supreme Court nominee.
Oh, jeez. Okay.
The enthusiasm, and this should be like the Super Bowl for you.
It absolutely should be. Like in a normal world, I would care. But you have to understand right now, I really got to limit my intake of the news. So I'm the election lawyer for Denver right now, and I got 2 weeks before my world blows the fuck up. So I got to keep it calm.
Wait, so 2 weeks, is that the election?
No, like all the stuff to. What day is it?
It is the October 12th.
Okay, so
Halloween.
Like 3 weeks.
You're getting ready for Halloween.
Weeks.
3 weeks. The election.
Yeah.
Are you? Wait. What are you anticipating?
I am anticipating potential civil unrest at the polls.
Well,
I'm anticipating, some stuff going wrong, and needing to file a lawsuit at the last minute.
Okay. So let me ask you.
We've had a lot of.
Yeah, I know. So I have 2 thoughts. The first thought is I'm in your camp when it comes to that, because I've modified my position to think that regardless of who wins, Biden or Trump, I think we will have the exact same outcome and reaction.
I agree. Right.
Doesn't matter who wins, we're going to get the same exact fucking outcome, just different people.
Yeah, and I think people will turn out just for even just voter intimidation,
that's been going on forever. I mean, look at
Philly. I know. So, but you can't be here and there. You can't be there. So I'm going to bring what I need to bring.
Yeah. So okay.
Anyway, my point is back to Supreme. That's why I'm not paying that much attention. But I know.
But I think that's
you're
important.
right. It should be my Super Bowl.
So let me ask you this then. So we both just clarified what we're expecting, or unfortunately expecting. Why is that going on today in 2020? How did we get to that point, in your opinion?
I think we got to it because of our current president and how he has. From day one, he's so paranoid about losing, and how he's really focused the election on, all these things are going to go wrong. And he doesn't know there's states like Colorado, Denver in particular. We've had our mail-in system forever. And we are actually the model in the country that people should utilize, because our stuff it's solid. And it's just frustrating because we're getting, asked all this information, which we have and we're happy to give, but this is not a normal election. And it's because I think he heightened things that didn't need to be heightened. Just let people go out and vote rather than, COVID didn't help for sure. It's going to be a difficult, no matter what happens, it's going to be difficult.
So do you think it's strictly has come out of the last 4 years, or is this something that based on the prevalence of the news cycle and how everything's amplified in the media going back, even to, because Obama was treated this way, just it was not as much because I
think just specifically with the election, because of the whole Russia investigation and the impeachment and all that process, of just that, there was something that went awry with our election process, right? Potentially, right? And so there's that now, this heightened lens on that. And then we have, the president, just some of the stuff that happened, it was too predictable. And then it was also are you really doing this? Because it's like a playbook that we could all see wide open. With the whole, the whole thing with the, what he got impeached for. I can't remember now what country it was.
He got impeached for.
I know what the reason he got impeached for, but the circumstances around it. The whole Biden son investigation, and I need you to look into him, and look at where we are right now. Who's the Democratic nominee? Biden. It was already set in stone. right?
Yeah, I mean, the impeachment had to do with him allegedly soliciting
That was a big fucking waste of time. That was a
foreign
big
interference into this election. Well, yeah, I mean, it is a big waste of time
But
because
look at what was going on during that exact time. Because I kept telling my, I'm like, this is a distraction. This is a distraction from something else that's happening. And what was happening? Fucking COVID in Wuhan, China. So I'm like, no one was paying attention to that. It was right around the same time, Eric. And I'm like, something's happening that we're not focused on and we should be focused on.
look, I mean, I don't want to do conspiracy talk radio. I mean,
know.
we could definitely have these conversations on your property in Denver at some point in time, because I would probably be more inclined to agree with you. I just think regardless whether it's Trump, whether it was Obama, whether it was Bush, whether it was fucking Clinton, like there's always something going on that is designed to distract.
Yes.
Clinton had his issues, last president to be impeached, right? Bush had his issues.
Plenty.
Obama had his issues. Like, I mean, I think a lot of them were because of who Obama appointed. They weren't really attached to him. It's just, you know, a lot of the Hillary Clinton. A lot of that stuff always goes on. Like, so let's not pretend this is new and unique to administrations. I think it's amplified, unfortunately, in a way because of what I've said over the course of this podcast catalog, is that social media has made us worse as a society.
Yeah, that's why I'm not on it. I just can't even deal with it. I can't even deal with it, man.
But, yeah,
I remember it was last election. It was whatever the last election was, and it was August, because it was also when the last amount of when people gave a damn about Black Lives Matter and the racial tensions and police brutality was 4 years ago. And I was like, I can't go through an election cycle like this. And I got off and I have not been back on. I ended up finding Instagram so I could take pictures, like look at pictures of golden retrievers and food. And I'm a much happier person. I don't care what you ate that day. I don't care where you went. I don't. And so people need to stop putting all their shit out there because no one really cares. They really don't.
It's too late. It's already happened.
I know.
So do you think you're going to see a regression from that, or do you think I
would hope so by now. Every time people are like, well, all this stuff, you're like, what are you riled up about? Because of some post you saw that someone put together that you don't know if it's true or not. That's what you're riled up about. How about you just don't go on there?
Yeah.
And it's funny. People are like, I need a social media break. I said, yeah, break off altogether. There's actual life and like society happening around you. And the best thing I did when I got off of it back, it was 4 years ago, but because I was always on my phone. I stopped being on my phone and I started talking to people around me. I saw so many beautiful interactions on the bus or at the restaurant. I would talk to whoever was making my food. Like, there's no need to be on it. And everyone's still even more so now tied to their phone because we're all working from home or, have
Well, that's kind of a lot of what you said is kind of at the I don't think I sent it to you. I probably didn't, but I wrote a piece for one of my buddies' websites a few weeks ago, and it kind of touched on that. It's like there's more to it, but one of the portions was like we're literally getting upset with friends, family, neighbors about issues that largely don't affect us because we just think differently on them. So we'll sacrifice that friendship or that family member or that neighbor just because, oh, you think like this and I think like this.
But everyone should be able to think the way they want. You have to love them anyway. And if you can't, then fine.
But that's the point. Wasn't that the point of the American experiment? Is like, hey, Renee, you get to have your opinions. I get to have mine. And we get to do it in a society where we're not penalized for having those beliefs or feelings. And guess what? At the same time, we can go hang out on fucking Sunday, drink beer, shout America, and watch fucking football. Like, that's what we're supposed to do.
Yep.
But somewhere along the line in the last not so distant past, this has all been called into question, and we're supposed to suspect everyone who thinks differently than us. And I don't want to live in that society. I don't.
I totally agree. And I think you put that beautifully. And that I don't know, I really can't pinpoint it. I don't want to base it on the Trump administration because I don't think that's fair, but it certainly has been more heightened. I know that I felt that in my experience, but that's the whole point of America, is that everyone can be different and coexist. And lately it's been the exact opposite.
Yeah. That's why people want to literally give up their entire livelihood, freedom, everything, family, whatever it is they're escaping from, because that was another part of it. I'm like, you know what? You know, the organization flavor of the month in our country is very defined at this point. And I wish people would take some actual time to just step back. And I know this based on just because of my experiences in the Middle East. Like, you know what? Slavery has gone on in this world since the dawn of civilization and in hierarchical societies, where we've been able to figure out that power leads to control, and control has manifested itself in controlling other people since the dawn of organized society. And I hate to say this, but it's true because I've seen it. Like, there's some real modern day slavery going on in this world. And it's focused in the Middle East, where these workers get imported from the Philippines, from India, from Pakistan, from all these like third world countries. They're forced to surrender their passports on arrival. They get them back in 2 years, maybe. And that's what they do for 6 days out of the week, 12 hours a day. They work. Whether it, you know, some of the females get put into hotels because they're pretty faces, and that's what they show to, you know, the tourists who come in. That's the resort face. Or they're stuffed into manual labor camps, and they build these high rises in Dubai that everyone marvels over. Like, oh my God, look, it's Dubai. Like, yeah. Do you know what the fucking people are that build those? Like, you guys don't know that shit because you're too busy like hitting like on the Instagram models' pictures from there.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just saying, and the stuff that we
I'm with you, honey. Yeah,
I know, but the stuff we waste energy over is not as real as it should be, because we're manifesting, I think, in this country, a lot of our problems, and social media does it. It amplifies a voice that isn't as loud as we think it is.
But it's not real. Like, social media is not
exactly. It's not
real shit. It's what they choose for you to see.
Right.
So, and like, if I'm sitting here having some depressive manic fit, I'm not posting that. I'm posting me being happy holding a fish. Right? Like,
some people are posting the opposite and making you think like that's real. When it's not.
Know, right? It's not. It's all what the creator wants you to see. You create your own content. And that's why I have a really hard time, because I don't trust people that their content is what it is. You know, I'm the one that requires a lot of information in order for you to prove something with me. That's why I'm a lawyer. I need evidence. I need a lot of information. And before I'm going to take a position, I better know as much of the information as I need to do it. So yeah, I don't care what your little meme is. Fuck you. I'm like, give me some facts and some data.
Yeah, that's true. See, and I wish more people were like that, and but not enough people are wired like you to think, hey, let me get some actual proof to this stuff. Rather than,
I think it just dumbs down our culture. It dumbs down our culture because everything's at our fingertips, and be like, well, somebody put this together and found out that this plus this makes that. And the reality is no one checks it. No one fact checks anything. That's why that's not where you need to get your news from.
Did you read my post after all? Because I touched on that too. Like this thing right here.
So you need to just send it to me.
I will. Everything ever is right here. You just have to wait for the page to load.
Right.
That's what I wrote.
So I'm at the point where my phone, it's like 4 or 5 years old. It's dying. I have to keep deleting pictures like every day. And I'm like, I'm going to let this thing go all the way. Cause I'm like, no, I'm going to let it go.
I was just telling Maddie about this. I just paid this shit off last month, and now magically the battery sucks.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
It's a fucking thing.
You're the whole reason I even got in the Apple products, as you said.
You're welcome.
I had my little BlackBerry or whatever. Yeah. No, because the battery still sucks, right? And especially now that I'm on calls and I have all my other product, like I got to plug it in the whole time, and it's done. Whatever. I'm at the point, unless, because this is my only outside thing to get to the rest of the world, like my daughter, my food deliveries, like I need to have it. But that's
food deliveries. Did you hear what she just said? Food deliveries. That is your elite judge right there. She's a part of the elite.
I am. There's sometimes where you're working real hard and you come home from a long lawyer day and you don't want to cook nothing, and you can call and have your sushi delivered within 35 minutes.
To be fair, Maddie, I've tried to wean her off it, but she was very grocery delivery before she met me. I like shopping for groceries. I think it's a. I love it.
You know what? So I haven't told you my actual hourly rate now, but my time is worth something, and I hate shopping. I don't need to pick out my own vegetables. Someone can just go and do it for me. Like that's one of the things with.
No.
That's one of the things with COVID that has been great, because I'm a high risk with asthma and blood pressure stuff. So I'm like, I don't need to go. If I don't need to go out, you all can just bring food to me.
You don't
great.
know what's on that food when it gets to you.
I wash it off, man. I wash it off. Apple cider vinegar on everything. Just wash it all off.
All right, so I think at some point,
honestly hate grocery stores, so it's not my thing.
Really, I love grocery stores. I think they're one of the coolest things we've come up with, especially like the new ones, and you see how they're organized and set up. Like, I love that shit. It really.
Yeah, no, I'm from an island where I'm like, you grow your own food and you go get your own stuff and you kill your own animals. So grocery stores to me are for like dry products, which you can just have delivered.
I would love to do that. Unfortunately, that's not the way my life's set up right now. So
I understand.
So in the meantime, I will marvel at the fact that I can get Snake River Farm steaks for $30 a pound at the local Safeway because it looks awesome.
That's awesome.
It is, right? See, now you're coming around. You don't want someone to fucking see that for you. You want to see that for yourself.
No, I don't. That's not what's going to thrill me at the end of a long day.
You know what will thrill you is the fact, I don't know how Colorado works, but in this state, one of the few cool things about California is you can buy liquor at your grocery store. So I love just cruising the bourbon aisle.
Yeah, we can't do that here.
Yeah, see? It's one of the weirdest things about California is even in Target, you can buy liquor, and it doesn't make any sense.
That's very convenient.
It really is.
No,
Walmart, buy it in Walmart. You can buy it anywhere. Grocery store, Walmart, Target, buy liquor anywhere. It's great. Which makes no sense because California would be the one state where I'd be like, yeah, this shit's not happening. But it happens. So anyway, now 15 minutes ago, I brought up this new Supreme Court Justice nominee, Super Bowl. So I wanted to read you a portion of her opening statement because like I said, look, I don't get it. I don't understand. I mean, at some point, there's still a part of me that wants to involve myself into this. But at the same time, I'm like, people like her who are nominated for these positions, they literally are subjected to having their entire lives ripped apart. And I'm just like, what's the benefit?
Well, you have to understand they put their name in that hat at some point too. So
yeah, I get that.
They know that. Yeah,
I get that. I just think it's just I said this to Maddie like a few weeks ago. I don't think it should be this way.
No, I mean,
your life shouldn't be subjected to be torn apart by fucking people who are in no position to do the tearing apart. If that makes sense.
So to be fair, and I understand your point, but when you think about just your average judges, like the judicial process I just went through and the vetting of that, these are the people that actually decide your day-to-day life and whatever you're charged with and whatever grievance that you have. So you really should know who they are and know what their biases are and pay attention to who these nominating commissions are selecting because it affects your society. So it's like, yes, you keep putting the same type of person, but unless they don't necessarily have the background that can understand the people that are coming before you in your courtroom, and you don't vet that the fact that they might have a prejudice or might have this or that, yet they're the ones that's throwing people, like these are the judges that throw people to the electric chair. So you need to know what's happening, and that's why they have so much power. They really do. Yes, there's appellate courts and things, but this to have the highest seat in the country, you need to vet them because they're making decisions that will affect law and the interpretation of law and how our society runs.
Okay, I'm glad you said that because that brings me right back to this portion of the highlighted opening statement I wanted to read to you because that's great. You're absolutely right.
Pour more rum.
Yes, pour the rum as I read this to you.
Okay.
From her opening statement, Mrs. Barrett says, quote, courts have a vital responsibility to enforce the rule of law, which is critical to a free society. But courts are not designed to solve every problem or right every wrong in our public life. How's that sound?
I don't disagree with her. I mean, so there's different type of jurists.
Right.
You can be a strict constructionist, which I definitely used to be. I mean, Scalia was my boy. So it was one thing I liked about her is that she was his clerk. I didn't mean I just didn't agree with his politics. I appreciated how he saw the law. Right. And you have people who are more judicial activists like Justice Sotomayor and like that want to do things to change the law. And I think you need to have both. You need to, that's the intellectual exercise of like those justices coming together and with all of their different perspectives. Can you imagine if they all had the same perspective? I mean, then not right. You know, like what the fuck's the point? But to have them really look at it.
Like if we really go back.
Yes, that's the intent for where we are right now. And he wants to have everybody be the same to push the agenda. It's unfortunately political, and it shouldn't be. I absolutely shouldn't be.
See that
It
I'm
should
with
be
you.
the people, the community deciding what they need. And that's, well, especially for your lower courts. But I think even at that
Well,
level,
yeah. So let me ask you this. So what, how many levels does something have to go before it gets to the Supreme Court?
So it depends. There's two tracks. There's like the state law track. So you have your district court, which is just your trial court where you have your case. And then let's say you lose, you appeal it to the Court of Appeals for that state. And then depending on what the issue, if it's not a constitutional issue or something that's of a federal concern, then it won't go up to, then it could go up to the Federal Court of Appeal, like the 10th Circuit here in Colorado.
Yeah.
If not, then it goes to the Colorado State Court. Or, I'm sorry, the Colorado Court, the Supreme Court, and then they decide it. And again, it has to be a federal question or issue for it to go up to the Supreme Court. So then going back to the federal track here, so if it goes to the 10th Circuit, then that could go up to the court, the Supreme Court afterwards.
What makes something a federal concern?
Oh, just if you violate a federal statute or if it touch, if it's you have to have federal jurisdiction. So like if it's two companies from a different state, that gives you federal jurisdiction.
So a long way before it gets to the Supreme Court level, but let's get below that. So, because I've read this from both sides. I remember when Obama was president, and then now with Trump, and they're talking about all these federal judges they've appointed along the way. Like, why has that become, or in your opinion, do you see it as that? But why is that even so? Why is that so political and not just, hey, let's put the right people there?
Yeah, it's lifetime appointments.
Exactly. That's my
right. Like it needs to be. We need to put the right person in there.
Yeah, right.
And I don't know why it's political. It shouldn't be. Like I just saw the process that I went through for a little like district court position, and it is who knows who, right? Mm-hmm. And you still have to be qualified and obviously get there with your all your accolades and things. But then at the bottom line, it's like it's not like, hey, here's what the community needs. No, it's like, here's who had the most people call or write or do this and that. I don't know how they make the decisions, but that's the pattern. So
at the below the Supreme Court level, do you have to have a law degree to hold those positions, unlike the Supreme Court?
I actually don't know what the requirement is, but I think you'd have to. And honestly, you would want to. You would want someone who understands. You don't want just some person
you would
on
want
the
to,
street.
but
you need at least a practicing lawyer. My goodness.
But that's the difference with the Supreme Court.
I actually don't know if that's. And the reason why they wrote those requirements back in 17, whatever the hell, and it was like. Right, they didn't have and now you can write whatever you want when you're establishing something. Yeah. Now 200 something years later, you're like, hey, you better know what the hell. You better know all the laws. You better have been practicing this area.
Well, that's the thing. I don't know how. Where law school. I don't know when law schools became a thing. I feel like they
really became a thing in the civil rights era, but before that,
because I remember reading about like the founders and a lot of people who were associated with them. I feel like they all had quote unquote law degrees, but I don't know if that was like an actual.
Yeah, and they were barristers from England. Yeah, it's a different system in England too.
Right. So here, based on you've touched on a lot of this, but there's another quote I want to read to you. Mm-hmm. Here we go. So. The policy decisions and value judgments of government must be made by the political branches elected by and accountable to the people. She continues, the public should not expect courts to do so, and courts should not try. So it's interesting because I'm like, what she's talking about courts, but the Supreme Court's a different court, Okay. No, this is good because I want to, because to me, I read that, I'm like, oh yeah, that's great. But I want to actually, someone
as
who's
a judge,
trained to spot these
right.
differences and shit.
Yeah. So as a judge, your job is to interpret and follow the law. You can't start making shit up. Like that's not your job. If you interpret in a way, and then it has to go up on appeal so that it gets to who can make the change, or at least say there needs to be a change, whether it needs to go back to the legislature or it needs to go, just back down to the court to whatever their interpretation is. Like that is not the court's job. That's not the trial court's job. It's like, here's the facts of the law. And I had one of the judges that I was talking to as I was going through this process saying, one of the hardest things to transition from a lawyer to a judge is like, you have to make the decision. Your whole job is to make the decision, not argue what the decision should be. And he said that there was one day there was a trial he was, presiding over, and the parties doing their thing. He's like, I just got to the point at the end of the day, I didn't care who won, because that wasn't my job. My job was to make sure they presented their thing. And when the jury handed me the verdict, I was like, great, let's go to the next case the next day. That's what judges are supposed to do.
Yeah.
But, there's things they do within the bounds of, I'm obviously talking from a trial judge perspective, because appellate courts are a whole different animal. But as an appellate courts, you are making decisions that could affect the changes in the law, or affect the interpretations as to how people practice law or see a legal issue. So for her to say that, I totally get where she's coming from, but I'm just interested what her definition of courts are, because there's courts, the trial courts, the appellate courts, and then there's the Supreme Court, which is the final decision maker when it comes to the law. So they shouldn't, but they do make change.
Yeah, because it's like you just said, like there's nothing past the Supreme Court, right? That's it.
That's the decision. Yeah.
So God, I could take this so many directions, but let me just back up a second, because her background is she was a clerk for Justice Scalia, who's passed. But because I remember asking you, and I know you were doing your own research or whatever it is you want to call it, but what do you think of the nominee overall? Like, do you favor it? I mean, because I don't think if anyone listening to this could probably get a clear picture of your personal politics at this point, which is fine. I'm good with that. We're not here to define who you are. It's just more to just listen to you and learn from you. But I'm not here to make this a political show. But what do you think of the actual nominee? Are you cool with it? Are you someone you would like to see up there, or what? If you can actually speak on that, of course, as well.
Yeah. There are aspects of her that I appreciate the nomination, but I don't know enough to say. I certainly wouldn't give her any type of endorsement right now, because part of it is you have to see how they have decided other cases, and I just haven't done that. But from the sound bites that I have seen and what I've learned about her, I think it was interesting Trump chose a woman, because obviously
I think that was going to be,
you're filling and I think it had to be because you cannot fill the shoes of Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who literally her entire life was to fight for women's rights, to put a man in there.
She's a big deal. We covered that. Yeah, she's a big deal.
Big deal. So I think that picking a female was a good call. It had to be. And then there was just certain aspects of her, what I could sense from her politics that I'm like, okay, I'm never going to have the perfect candidate, for this job. I don't know what it looks like. I really don't, because there's so many different, I just feel like there, I think we do need to have balance on the bench, and that includes having a conservative and a liberal perspective, and somewhere in between. I think from what I can gather from her federal trial experience, I don't think she's a horrible pick. I'll say that. I still need to do some vetting, and I still would prefer, maybe somebody else to pick the candidate at this point, just to be fair with what happened last time. But that doesn't work in this administration.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about that too, though. But so where do you come out on that? Because I mean, I remember the whole Merrick Garland thing, but
it's called consistency, man. Be consistent and be true to your
so
word.
I like to do this,
and also respect the dead woman's wishes.
Well, that's
if there's one thing she could do.
No,
she hung on, man. She hung on.
See, that's so subjective. No one can sit there and say that was an actual wish, and even if it was, it doesn't mean anything.
I know.
But no, I'm curious, because here's because you got to find that loophole. You're a lawyer, that you got to find the loophole, right? So the loophole is this. When Merrick Garland was nominated, Obama he wasn't running for re-election. So there was going to be a new president no matter what, right?
Yeah.
Also,
that's a good loophole.
It is. And also, who was in charge of the Senate at the time, right? So they weren't going to hear it. The Republicans were. Now, once again, the Republicans are in charge of it. And the current sitting president is running for re-election. And it's closer to the election than it was, because I think Garland was in March. Here we are in she was nominated in September. Very close.
Yeah.
This stuff's going on. She's gonna get confirmed. We already know this. I mean, let's be honest. It's gonna happen.
Yeah, I think she is. I think she's probably gonna. Yeah.
Yeah, because even I think Trump has pointed this out. Even if he loses, he's still president until January. Like, it's not like he stops being president on the day after the election day. So he's going to see this stuff through as much as he can. But when the Garland thing happened, what was your take on that? Because I'm sure I asked you, but that was 4 years ago. I don't remember. And I don't know if you do, but were you surprised?
I didn't like that either. I didn't like that either. I really didn't.
You didn't like him being nominated or him not being considered?
Not being considered.
Gotcha. No, I think it's fair. I try to shoot straight here on this show, and you're right. I think the president, as long as he's the president, should do things. But at the end of the day, the president doesn't control what the Senate does, right? Yeah. That's the
checks and balances we have.
Yep.
Yeah.
And a lot of that was put into place though because of Harry Reid because he went away with that. He made it to where it went from 60 votes down to a simple majority. Yeah. And that's why they were able to.
Harry Reid was a very, very special senator. I think it's Stetson.
I know he had some recent. Is he still alive? I can't remember.
I don't know. So Stetson, we had I was a poli-sci major. We had this thing where everybody around the country, they would come to it basically had it was a week where we were the Senate was in session. And I think I played Harry Reid. I know I played.
Did you really?
I played oh yeah. And then I became Arlen Specter because he was just like, that was my man. So I was
That's
Specter
funny.
for a
Arlen
while.
Specter was your man?
Yeah. No.
Okay, cool.
And then I tried to be.
Keep talking because I'll be right back. But keep talking because this is great. No, yeah. That Arlen Specter is your man. Keep going.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, back then, I know he hasn't been doing that great lately. And then I had a really good friend that she was Orrin Hatch. It was fun. It was fun to play those guys back in the early 2000s. I'm gonna go get some cheese since you went for a break because I'm hungry. Oh, that's what dropped. Oh.
All right, so we are back with Renee Goble, who was totally supposed to carry us from that, and she didn't, as she went to get cheese. But she mentioned Arlen Specter, and if you're not following this show, you should be, and you can follow me on Twitter at EricTWBB, as for There Will Be Bourbon, or you can subscribe and like this show on all podcast platforms and the YouTube network, so you should do that. But Arlen Specter, you know what? Never mind, because I totally got Specter confused with Strom Thurmond, and I don't know why, but I just did because that would have been hilarious.
They are very different people. And another friend of mine, he was Strom Thurmond.
And he at me like, wait a minute, what? And I'm just, that's why from the initial, I was like,
he's not my people. No, not my people.
I was going to say Strom Thurmond, definitely one of those more individuals that probably is not on your side. What do you got in there? Maddie's making off with the food. All right, whatever. We'll get there. All right, so here we are. We're you already stated that you think Barrett's going to be confirmed. I would assume. I don't see why she wouldn't. But what that does is it puts the Supreme Court makeup along the lines of stuff that I just fucking hate. But either way, it is going to be what it is. It's going to be 6-3 in the conservative side. How do you see that going forward? Do you think this is do you think it's worth the doomsayers, or is this just, hey, it is what it is until another president comes along and balances it out? Yeah. Everything's cyclical, right? Everything kind of, metronomes.
Yeah, but we don't have, with what's going on in the world right now, we really don't have that kind of luxury of time. But I think, so Justice Gorsuch, was a Colorado judge, and I didn't know him personally, but one of my colleagues clerked for him, and said he's a really great guy. And if you saw the decision that he wrote in the recent LGBT fight over what was it? It was related to, I lost it now. Shit. It was a really big decision that came out this summer, and it was.
I can Google it while you keep expounding.
Yeah, and Gorsuch they weren't expecting that. So if she says if she really means what she says, then I don't necessarily think it'll be 6-3 decisions, and they really will follow the law and the interpretation. So I'm going to remain hopeful. How about that?
Well,
that's what I'm
gonna do. As I look this up real quick, but kind of along the line. Let me hit this.
I'll find it real quick.
When was it?
It was this summer.
July? Okay.
Yeah, it might have been July.
Yeah, LGBTQ workers, the decision.
It was about like employment related stuff.
Yeah.
Why was it?
Men fired for being gay, but okay. So yeah. Well, why would that be a surprise if he's coming out on that side? Isn't he wasn't Gorsuch one of Obama's appointees?
No, he was.
No, that's right. Never mind.
The last Trump appointee.
Man,
I'm so excited because he came from Colorado.
Yeah, you're right. No, you're right. I missed that one. But this is where I come back to, because I talked about this a few weeks ago. Is we've seen this already though, Renee? Like, don't you remember when the individual mandate was at the Supreme Court and Chief Justice Roberts sided with the liberals, which made the Affordable Care Act and the individual mandate law? Like, it's been done before. It's not just all political. It's sometimes, hey, if that's
why I'm saying I'm hopeful that it doesn't need to be this big conservative agenda that, but it's not the best time to have that, that swing right now.
But here's what I always don't understand, and maybe you can help me with this, because I want to get an actual legal perspective on this. What the left always throws out is like, oh man, the Republicans, they're going to overthrow Roe v. Wade. And that was a decision that was decided in 1973.
Yeah, people need to move the fuck on. Because if anything, our society has actually gotten to the point where that, like, yeah, I get that it was an issue in the 70s and 80s. We are in 2020. Like, please move on from your bullshit.
Later. And
that is not the issue of our time. No, that is not the issue of our time when we have
decided, right? Like, right, it's decided. Okay.
But people want to hang on to that. They want to hang on to gun control. I'm not saying gun control is not something to talk about, but it's like, move on. But the law is what it is. And to go backwards is not going to help our society.
Right. So is there like some crazy thing in the Solicitor General who's just waiting for, to overturn the fucking Roe v. Wade? Like, is there some pocket no one knows about? Like, I don't get it.
No one's getting rich off of it, so I don't understand why they care, right? It would make sense if you were like, no, and even like the gay marriage issue. I'm like, you people are missing out on a lot of money. Like the ones that are fighting it,
what are we arguing about? We're arguing about whether two people voluntarily want to subject themselves.
People are still arguing about morals and values. That I'm like, listen, you got to move on from that, because people were arguing about it 2,000 years ago in Jesus' time. And let's very different then.
Let's circle back to the billboard I see on the highway going to San Francisco for apps that'll deliver you weed. Is this what we're really concerned about?
Right. We have people, they're finally realizing what a sham the pharmaceutical industry is, and that, especially in Colorado, how marijuana can help.
Oh, God.
And it's like, but their generation, my parents' generation, your parents, they're like, oh, that's terrible. I'm like,
but did they see that? Because that's curious to me, though. Like, because you guys come from Jamaica. So how did your parents view it?
Yeah, it's a religious thing. So we were super religious. And so the Rastafarian culture is anti-Christian in Jamaica. They're the ones that smoke and grow the weed. Yet, so I think that's for the people who use it as a lifestyle, right? But yet, when it comes to natural healing remedies, like my parents would make a tea with marijuana for, an upset stomach or whatever. Like, they know the medicinal purposes.
Yeah.
So it's not like, but it's not to get high. Huh?
They still got to purchase it.
No, it's growing all over the place, really. I'm not joking.
No, I'm saying when you got to the States, is what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah. I'm talking about when they were in Jamaica.
Gotcha,
so, yeah, here they found other things like echinacea and aloe vera and ginger and whatever else, lemons. just other plants. But but overall this is not, because once they came into this country, obviously they respected the laws. They're like, yeah, no, this is not our thing. So, and rum, I forgot, they use rum to kill everything.
Hey, Americans have done the same thing throughout history with bourbon and whiskey. So there's not a lot of difference. I mean, and I agree with it, because I am one of the healthiest people you'll ever meet, and I drink every night. So I'm just saying.
Look at you.
Just saying. How do you think I killed the coronavirus? Drank fucking whiskey. Couldn't taste it, but I drank it.
Yeah. That's hilarious.
It's true, but poor thing, Maddie in there, like, we're going on March.
You said she's asthmatic?
She's asthmatic, but she's like, her taste is still fucked up, and her smell.
Did she have to use her nebulizer or anything when she was on?
I don't think she has one. She's got a inhaler. I've never seen her with a nebulizer, but she's going through like retraining on her senses, like coffee, meat, cheese, all these things smell rancid to her still 7 months later.
Oh God, if I couldn't taste or smell my food, that would be the worst fucking thing.
I couldn't taste bourbon for 6 days, and I was a dick. Like, I was an absolute dick. Like, to her,
it didn't stop you from drinking it though.
And I'm like that was 6 days. She's going on 7 months, and I'm just like, I'm not built for some of this shit. I'm just not like
Oh man.
The only thing I could remember really be able to, like, which is weird because a lot of sweet notes are within bourbon, but the only thing I could taste was sweet food. Like sugar, cookies, shit like that. I could taste that no problem, but I couldn't taste any of that in bourbon. Like, drinking bourbon was like if I poured a glass of water.
Oh, that's so terrible.
It was.
That's like the worst thing I've heard.
Good thing, like, I got this superhuman immune system and I can overcome anything. So 6 days wasn't bad, but she's definitely, unfortunately.
Well, I wish her luck in getting that all back. I'm sure they'll.
But even my parents, I told you this, my parents got it, and 2 weeks they're fine. They're good now. I mean, it's just weird because doesn't seem to be like a lot of there's no uniformity to how this is going to affect whatever. And that's why I just say, look.
Yeah, unless you're old and in a nursing home, then it will kill you. Pretty much.
That seems to be but that's what's weird.
But that's also,
But Renee, my dad's fucking, he was 71. He is the epitome of like comorbidities, multiple heart surgeries, has almost died from asthma when he was 2. Like, the dude is a poor example of health. The only thing he's got going in his favor is he's the most stubborn human being on the planet, and he's probably too stubborn to know when he's
a lot of it is your mental state, man. If you're going to fight it or not. Going for. So there you go.
But he was fine. So, like, and I told Maddie this, like, I hate to say it, but if anyone wasn't going to make it. Oh, how about another example? Does President Trump look like someone who
Oh my God. Don't even get me started, because I'm gonna get in trouble with my thoughts on that.
Yeah, probably could too. But
no, because I had a little skip in my step that day. I'm not gonna lie. I found out he had it, and I'm like, oh, good. And then you hear about his health. First of all, I was really surprised at how tall he was.
He is tall.
He's so rotund.
Well, look at his son, Barron. Barron's like 6'7". That dude needs to be playing in the NBA one day, man. His fucking son towers over him, and he's only like 14. I don't pay
attention to his kids.
Barron is like 4 inches taller than him, and he's like 14. It's ridiculous. The kid's.
Which, by the way, have we heard how Melania is doing? I haven't heard shit about
you're right.
her.
I didn't hear anything about Melania. Well, how's Melania doing? Not good. What do you mean she's not good? She's married to a billionaire. What? Health-wise. Yeah, she's just waiting for this. Never mind. I'm going to stop.
So here's how I was like, I'll stop after this, but I'm like, when I found out she had it, I'm like, oh, please, she is not around him enough to contract shit, because she can't stand that motherfucker. So I don't know where he got it from, or she didn't get it.
To be fair, I can't remember who made this point. I can't remember who made this point, but it's true. Melania Trump. All right, let me see how I can frame this, just in case there's the wrong people listening. A woman marries a billionaire because they want to be a billionaire's wife. They don't marry them because they want to be the first lady of the United States.
That's right, and she did not want to be the first lady. Like, and
hopefully I said that the correct way, but at the same time,
I agree.
Can you let me ask you this though? Let's be honest, because you're a fair woman. People can say what they want about the first lady. She's damn near smarter than everyone we've ever had in that office. Or that's not even an office. That's a position. She speaks like 5 languages. She's super. What's her? I need to look this up. She has like a real scientific degree. Like I'm not even gonna look it up because I know super smart woman. But she's a fucking foreigner and has an accent, and people demonize her. If that woman was the first lady of a Democrat president, I swear to God, she would be a fucking idol in this country.
That's probably true.
Yeah. You heard it here first. It's probably true, because I like, seriously, that woman, I barely understand Spanish.
But
I grew up my entire life.
It's really interesting because the people that would normally have a problem with her accent are people that would be supporting him.
You're also not wrong.
Right? So
that's where we are in this country. It's all about
everything is jumbled.
Yes.
Everything's jumbled.
Everything's garbled.
There you go.
Garbled. But that's my thing with Trump. Is like, don't you remember? You remember this? Like, the fucking rappers wrote songs about this dude. Like, Trump was everyone's fucking best friend until he decided to put a capital R next to his name and run for president against Hillary.
He wasn't my best friend.
No, he wasn't your best friend, but he was the entertainment world's best friend. That's for sure.
That, I don't know, does that qualify you to be president?
I'm not saying it does qualify you to be president. I'm just saying it's very convenient that if the dude would have ran as a Democrat, they probably would still love him. But he didn't.
I don't know.
He beat Hillary. And that's what eats people up the most, I think, is he beat Hillary.
Yeah. I definitely think that.
Which anyone could beat Hillary. You should. When are you going to run?
I can't.
Why?
Because I wasn't born in this country, and
but you're a citizen.
The Constitution. You have to be born in the United States.
That's not true. I'm gonna look this shit.
Yes,
it is.
It is.
Bro,
what was the whole? Okay,
Constitution.
So what was? Read your Constitution.
I will.
So, going back to it's Article 1, the requirements of the president.
It's the First Amendment. No, it's not. It's an article, right? Election of the president.
Article
number 12. All right, keep going. You keep talking. I'll keep reading.
While you're looking that up, what was I going to say?
I don't know.
Yeah, and honestly, I don't want the job, Eric. That's the stress. Look at all the people. They're stressful. I don't need that in my life. And if you ever did run and become president, I don't want to be on the Supreme Court. I wanted to be your attorney general. That was our plan.
Oh, well, whatever you want. Whatever it is you want.
Right. I don't want to be on the Supreme Court either. That's a lot.
But you can't be the attorney general for life. You can be the Supreme Court for life. You don't want that? No?
I don't want. No, I don't. I hope to God I retire at 50. That's what I'm working so hard for right now, so I could chill out while I'm still like able to enjoy myself.
Okay, that's fair. I was just, you said you wanted to be a judge. I'm just trying to help.
Yeah, I'm gonna do my part to help everyone until it's time to stop. I know when to stop.
Here we go. Hang on. I'm looking this up as we speak. I'm
so as you're looking up, remember Obama, how everyone was pissed off that they didn't think he lived in or he was born here, but if he was a citizen, then that would have completely negated that argument.
The dude was born in Indonesia and they've made a birth certificate for Hawaii. Like, that's the most random shit I've ever heard. Grew up in Indonesia, but was born in Hawaii. Come on.
Well, it's close.
Kind of. If you ever look at Hawaii, it's in the middle of fucking nowhere, surrounded by water.
Yeah.
I don't care.
The guy was the president
for 8 years. It already happened. It's too late. We ain't going back.
Yeah. But anyway, to your point is I don't actually want to do it. So it actually doesn't matter. You can run.
No, you're not interested in being a politician?
No, the judge there's judge stuff is you get appointed and then after X amount of time, like 2 or 3 years, and you are on the ballot, and that's going to be enough for me. Like, I don't want to do anything more than that.
It's not in the Constitution. I need to look this up better. All right, here we go. Do you need to be born?
Really?
It's a bunch of weird.
U.S. president born.
It's America. A bunch of weird law speak, and I don't want to read through it. Here we go.
Okay.
Legal requirements for presidential candidates, blah, blah, blah. Must be a natural born citizen of the United States, a resident for 14 years and 30. Wait, okay. There's a loophole. Resident of 14 years. Born in the United States?
Never.
No? All right.
I don't want the job, man.
All right, for those of you watching,
want
Renee will not be the future president of the United States because if we're going to have a female is inevitable. And if we're going to have one, I would be totally willing to back you. I just need a position. I don't know I don't know what you're going to appoint me as, but I need something. So I'll take the Secretary of Defense. I'll do it. I can't wait for my confirmation. Yeah. I will fuck those people up.
I know you would. Well, so my girl Kamala Harris, she's Jamaican, she's Indian, she has the same kind of legal background. Except I'm not a senator. It's basically like almost like voting for me, but not really.
No, I would say it's okay. So all right, because this show is not designed to put my opinions and views forth. I just don't know how good of a job I do of it. But so there, you brought up Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris. So what do you think of her overall as a candidate? Because
I was very happy with the pick. I was skipping just like I was skipping when I heard that Trump had COVID. I thought I really liked when it came out, as far as all the Democratic candidates, and there was way too many, and they really need to hone in their party. Like, don't give us some bullshit. Yep. Like, just pick 5 good people so we can focus on the 5 and not all these little outliers. But yeah, I get that everyone needs their turn. But anyway, out of that 30 or so candidate pool, she was one that I kept going back to. Obviously, I see similarities in myself and her. And I get that she's been really hard and tough on certain issues that
very conservative like.
Very much so, and that's the upbringing. I'm telling you, that's the Jamaican and the Indian, and y'all people don't understand that shit. It's like there's a lot of conservatism, and then with Me Too religion, that really, that's how I was stewed and grew up, and I've definitely shifted a lot more lately, but the core of those morals and values are there, man. So I was happy with the pick. I think,
is selecting the party more of a?
I could care less about the party. I need to focus on the people and what they're saying.
Hey, that's. Did everybody just hear that? Did everybody?
I don't vote party line or anything, and I don't have a party right now because what the fuck? I don't even know what's
I just wanted to know if everyone heard what Renee said. What Renee said is listen to the candidate, not the fucking party, because that's where we're at in this country. And she's absolutely 100% right. And it took me over the last 5 years to stop doing that shit.
Yeah.
Like, look at the individual running for the office. Because you can look up all these people. You can be a Democrat, you can be a Republican, but that doesn't mean you have to be blind. And oh God, here we go, Renee. Like, I know it's getting deep into the night, and I know you want to go to bed.
No, you're fine.
Probably over your bedtime. But I want to ask you this, because this is where we're going to get into some ground that may be a little uncomfortable for some folks. But I think it's important, mainly because guess who's black? Not me, right? So let me ask you this. Why do you think Black Americans are expected to vote for Democrats?
I think
why are the ones who decide not to? Why are they demonized and cast off as Uncle Toms or whatever? Like, why do you see? I don't know if you've given thought to this, but I'm just curious. It's not fair.
I have, because I'm having an issue with certain relatives of mine, and I remember where they are. They're in Florida, and when I went back to Florida, I was like, "Oh, there's Trump signs everywhere." I'm like, "Oh, right." And then,
they're everywhere out here, to be honest.
So in Colorado, in Denver, there's a lot of Biden-Harris sign, but when I go up to the mountains where my house is, there's a lot of Trump signs, and I'm like, "Oh." Right. And you have to think about, first of all, I think voting is extremely personal, right? And it is,
as it should be.
Right. And it should be. So I think that with the Black community in particular, and I could just say this is the generalization of my own family and what I've seen with our family friends, there's in the South in particular, there's a religious component. My mom, my parents will do whatever the minister tells them to do. And if the minister's a white man Republican and says this and that, then that's what's going to come out. And there definitely should not be politics in church, because that was the whole point of the First Amendment, but whatever. So my mom,
just a reminder, Renee knows the First Amendment if you've been listening.
Right. My mom, immigrant, Indian lady, and she's thinking, but I have an understanding that she might vote for Trump. She voted for him last time. And I'm like, okay, please make sure you understand all of the ramifications of that, immigrant woman, before you because she's just hearing first of all, they're getting the information from the wrong sources. You can't trust the news. You can't trust what,
Right.
whoever's telling you what. But I think the reason why, and then going to your other point about the Black Americans that, are voting more conservative, it aligns with their values, right? It really is what they have been taught and learned. And well, again, I'm speaking from my perspective from understanding people in the South.
Yeah.
That's why I grew up Republican, because that's what it was. It made sense. It made sense with my values and what I thought, should be achieved in politics or in government. I don't know why people demonize, because like I said, it's your personal choice. Like,
should be. That was the point of America, right?
That's the reason why polling is, it has to be secret, or, so you can have privacy to do it. So I think people just need to, obviously, like I said, listen to the candidates, choose your heart, choose what you think is going to be best for the country, and move on. Don't get politics involved. Pay attention to the people. Pay attention to just basic things, whether they're kind, decent human beings, for one, right? There's that gets washed away, which the thing with the Supreme Court nominee, like, she seems like a decent human being. That's way better than other people that have gone up before her that didn't.
No, I agree 1,000%. And that's my thing is, whether we like it or not, and I hate it. Oh, wait, hold on. Come here.
Hi, Gisara.
Look, it's Renee.
Hi.
Look
How are you, sweetheart? I know. I love it.
And she booped me. All right.
Yep.
Now that you've seen Gisara for the first time in a few years. Well, you see all the pictures. Never mind. But anyway.
I've actually never physically met her, because
I know, and I've never met Jade.
I know. Well, yeah, whenever you get to Colorado, we'll make.
I'll be in Colorado soon. But no, so that's my point. Is we live in a two-party system.
Yeah, that needs to stop.
We've had look. If it was up to me, I love the way the European Union and their politics works. Like, parties rise and fall literally every 2 years. Like, I love it. Sometimes it's the same party and they just figure out a way to rebrand it and sell it again, and they win. Like, I love that. Like,
but they're paying attention to the people and the needs of their communities.
Yes.
Like, we got to shift.
So
we got to change.
I remember,
we can't just be the same thing.
The woman who's like the head of, did she get elected? It's Le Pen in France. Let me look her up real quick before I make this point, because I can't remember if she was actually elected or not. No, she's the president of the National Front. So that's their party. But anyway, I don't remember. But anyway, the point is, I remember reading about Le Pen. She took over from her dad, and it's the conservative movement in France. And they were so ostracized, but he just kept making inroads every 2 years. And he eventually passed, and then she took over. And eventually she became like the major opposition party for the presidency of France. Like, she carved out a niche and like she made it work. But that's what I would love to see in this country. I'm so fucking tired of, you have an R next to your name or a D next to your name, and that's how we're going to decide this shit. And at the same time, going all the way back to how we talked about social media in this country, like, it is what it is. Like, when you're the put it this way, when you're the winner, you don't notice of things being said about you. When you're the loser, or you feel like you're going to be the loser, you see what the winner's saying about you. And I get it. Trump won in 2016, but I see how they've treated him since the day he's won, and how they talk about Republicans in this country as a whole. It's not just him. It's Republicans. If you're a Republican or a conservative in this country, you are demonized by our media. You are. And I don't think that is fair or reflective of the people who actually prescribe to those values, which is kind of what you were talking about just now. You cannot tell me that everyone in this country has to be one way or the other way is completely wrong. And I'm also of the belief that in a country of 330 million people, that we are no longer able to be split up on one side of the room or the other. That's just dumb. You can't tell me that.
Yeah.
That's just, which is, again, why I love the way the European Union does their politics, is because they realize there's pockets. Within every pocket, there's another pocket and another pocket. And that's why they make political parties, and that's how they fill parliament. You know, you have so many voices representing so many different.
Which is exactly how it should work. And that's what our system was designed to do. But it's like you said, that D and that R, it should be irrelevant at this point. It really should. Or at least there should be more, at least definitely way more. And to be fair, like on the ticket, there will be other parties, independent parties,
but
objectivist parties.
No one knows them. They don't get any voice.
Yeah, because
the last third party candidate to get a voice was Ross Perot in 1992.
And he got pretty far because he had money.
He beat Bush. Clinton won.
He had money. I know. He had money.
Was a billionaire. He was a very rich man. He was a billionaire in the 90s. Think about how much money he would have today.
Yeah. So again, unfortunately, you got to pay to play. That's how it works. Which is another thing
that is the downside of it. Unfortunately, you're right. No, because where else could Trump? What other country could Trump run with? I don't even need to take money. I'm going to pay it. I'm going to buy it myself, and he did. Yeah, I'll give him credit for that. I mean, yeah, but that's my thing is like, I think these last 4 years would have played out very, very differently if he would have ran for the Democratic nomination and he won.
I actually found it interesting that he did run for the Republicans, not a Democrat, because he's not a Republican, right?
No, it's not. But I said this to Renee. I said this before. Like, look, let's go back to 2016 and the four major candidates, two from each side. Trump for the Republicans and Rubio for the Republicans. Rubio, a much more traditional Republican, conservative, more of a hawk. Not as much as like one of those dudes who's like fucking, what was that? John Bolton. He's not a Bolton hawk who just wants to go to war with everyone and never actually have any involvement in it himself because he's a fucking pussy. But anyway, sorry, Jazar, don't listen to me. But Rubio is like your standard traditional candidate, right? And he's like the picture poster boy for the Republicans because he proves that, hey, we're not going to just nominate white folks. Like he's a Cuban American. Right. So he checks all the boxes. And then you had Trump, the fucking outlier who has nothing to do with the Republican Party, but he saw like his only option and way to the path of the presidency was to run as a Republican. Because would the Democrats nominate Trump over Hillary Clinton in 2016? No, they owed her. And that's my issue with. But then who was the other major candidate in 2016 for the Democrat nomination? Who was not also a Democrat? Bernie Sanders. That guy is not a fucking Democrat, but he's
love that man.
In this country.
Like, right. Like they shouldn't have to choose between those two parties. They could just go do their own
Everybody should run.
Yeah.
Why don't we just get down to the final two and then, hey, let's get rid of parties. Let's do that.
Yeah.
But here's my other
like
thing.
A bracket, like the NBA, like this, you know?
Yeah. Let's do. Here's my other thing and why I have so many issues with politics and as a whole in this country is what the Democrats did and what I think they're doing again. And you can because this is where we'll transition into next. But what I think they did in 2016 was what the Republicans did in 2008, when John McCain ran against President Obama or Senator Obama at the time, his first nomination, is they felt they owed John McCain. So the Republicans nominated him. They didn't even consider anybody else.
Yeah. Yeah. They needed
Obama came out of nowhere and like, I'm sorry, but yeah, Obama probably wasn't qualified, but if you watch that dude's 2004 speech to the Democratic National Convention, there was not a single person in this country alive who was going to beat him. And I knew it. I knew it then. It just wasn't going to happen. And he did exactly what I think everyone expected him to do. And he won. Of course he beat John McCain because it's like, John McCain, the dude that's sitting up there saying bomb, 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 Iran. Really? That was great. Not a good look in 2008 while we're in the knee deep into a war in Iraq. And then 2016 came around. The Democrats repeated the same cycle. They felt they owed Hillary Clinton because she lost in 2008 to Obama for the Democrat nomination. And they felt like she was the next.
Mm-hmm.
And then Trump, I think, made a strategic move because, as you said, he's not a Republican. He damn sure isn't a Democrat. That dude's he's a nationalist, populist. That's what he is. I think he's been a great executor in his time, but if we're going to back that dude all the way back, I don't think he fits into any party. And so I think he made a strategic decision to run as a Republican.
Yeah, I think that's fair for sure.
Thank you. So then he wins. And now I think the media has treated him the last 4 years about as unfair as any American president has probably been treated in this country. They have not treated him like an American. The guy is still the president.
I disagree with that.
No, I want you to.
Did you see how they treated? Did you see how they treated Obama?
No, you're right. But
like American
they've taken
at
it to
all.
another level.
Yeah,
they've taken it to that because there was really only one.
But look at him. Look at him and the stupid shit he says and does, and tweets. Like, I'm sorry, that's not presidential. It's not presidential.
No, see, I fall into that line with you because I'm still one of those people who feels there is. And this is what I feel like this was the big issue with Trump and Biden's first debate. This is my issue with Biden as a whole.
Only debate. They're not going to have another debate, right?
You might be right, man. You might be right. But I think the first one is I think Biden, that despite all the things we could say about him, like his lifelong history in politics and all, but I think Biden still comes from that era where, hey, you can say whatever you want on that campaign, but when it's time to debate, you're going to shut the fuck up and we're going to do this shit like adults, right? Like, I feel like that's where Biden walked into that debate on that night. Yeah. And then Trump showed up and Trump was Trump. And Biden's like, what the fuck are we doing? I can't talk. You know what I mean? And then Trump's like, say something I don't like. Watch what happens. No. Fuck that. Listen to this. And I think we can't even have a debate between those two at this point, because if Trump would just allow Biden to speak, it would do all the damage, I think, for him. But he can't, he just can't do it.
He can't get past that. I think that's fair too.
And that goes all the way back to, let me get your opinion and take on this, is we've talked about this before, like texting, but of all the people the Democrats could have nominated this year, why they settled?
I know. That's why I'm saying Kamala, who noticed she got out of the race early.
I also noticed her say in a gaffe that she basically is going to be the one who's actually the president. Biden's just the front man.
I think I'm fine with that. Actually, that might help. You know, Biden has his, and that's the thing when you have someone that's been so long into politics.
Why?
Because you need, at this stage, she could never beat Trump by herself. So I think they think Biden was the best choice. No, not right now in the political climate we're in. A black woman? Are you kidding me? No,
but not even her. What about the?
You're right. I understand. I don't know why. I think Elizabeth Warren had some traction. Even Mayor Pete had some traction.
No, Mayor Pete's a fraud. No,
Mayor Pete will have his turn. This is not his time.
Hey, look, Renee, Mayor Pete and we were in Goble in NKC at the exact same time. Everything that man said about his military career is a fucking lie.
Really?
100%.
I didn't know nothing about his thing.
We could talk about this offline. Mayor Pete is 100% fraud. I'm going to point that out. We were in Goble at the exact same time, at the exact same base. That dude is a liar. But anyway, carry on.
I definitely want to
hear. And you know what? I will say with 100% conviction, because there's not a thing that dude can say about me that I will be afraid to refute, because that dude is a liar. So let's just point that out. But anyway, keep going.
So that's good to know. But I'm just saying, the people who got the traction, right? There's people that were saying some good things, right? Yeah. But it's unfortunately the system is that you have to everyone has to buy in, and everyone has to buy in from a extremely diverse population that is the United States. You take the North, South, East, West, Midwest, all of that shit. It is, you can't, I don't know how you can put that all into one person. You can't, or one party even, like we were just saying.
Yeah, but Biden, he never placed above fourth. He wasn't a threat to the nomination. I felt like the Democrat candidates just gave up and were like, all right, you take it.
Yeah. I know. And then Bernie, I'm like, where did Bernie go? I'm like, Bernie, come on, dude.
For the second time in 2 election cycles, he's been just kind of you know what? Because look, don't get me wrong. I don't think or prescribe to anything that Bernie Sanders says. There's some stuff that I can probably agree on, but most of it I won't. But at the same time, I'm like, if this is what that side would like to nominate and offer up. How about we let the American people decide?
Right.
Because I'm just one voice, and like I can look, I can have all the convictions in the world I want. I can think everything about what this country should be. But if the majority of the people living here who are able to vote say, hey, we want what Bernie Sanders is selling, well, at the end of the fucking day, that's what we get. That's what America's supposed to be, right?
Yeah, give it to us. Don't take it away from us, right?
God, exactly.
I don't know what happened this time with Bernie, because that didn't make no sense.
No,
it really didn't.
But
it was just so like, it really makes you want to understand the inner workings, because Kamala was the first to go. Then it went down with Cory. It was like, oh, we don't have any money. And Cory Booker, and then it was left. It was Bernie, Elizabeth Warren, Buttigieg, and Biden.
Well,
right? That was it. And then Andrew Chen.
No, Yang dropped out pretty
quick.
But what was the dude?
Oh, did he?
What was the guy from the mayor of New York?
That was the big dude, Blasio.
No, he never had any chance. No, what was the other one? He was the former mayor.
The one that came in like super last minute.
All the money. He's got all the money. The rich dude.
Was Mike Bloomberg.
Bloomberg, yeah. That dude's a fraud.
The short guy. Yeah, I don't know what that was.
Been every political party affiliation.
Right. I don't know. I have better things to do with $1 billion than what
exactly.
He did, so.
That's my thing. Like Bloomberg spent like.
I'm like, I'd buy a boat.
Didn't even make a debt though. Like
around the Caribbean. I am not.
Trump's rich. Bloomberg's rich.
Right. I don't know what
like,
that.
I know how I can make a quick tax write-off.
That was another distraction. So
absolutely,
it was strange how that went down, and I don't think Biden's unfortunately our choice if that's how you're gonna go. And it's like I'm going to focus on Kamala, because.
Do you think that's enough? Do you think? I think because I think there's enough people who would rather vote for her. But so all right, let's fast forward. It's November 4th. We could, I guess, me being out west, I don't have to fast forward and wake up. I'm gonna watch it happen live, like I did. I will Thunder Valley Casino in 2016 when I watched all the meltdown take place when Clinton lost. I thought it was so. Dude,
good. I went to sleep because I'll never forget that. Oh, it was like 10 o'clock, and I was like, "We're good." I saw the thing, I'm like, "We're fine. Go to bed." Grant and I wake up the next morning.
Nah.
Fucking New York Times, Donald Trump, and then I saw the map of the country, and I'm like, "Oh my god!" And it was the worst day. It was like the worst day. I'm like, "This country hates me." No, it was awful.
I was awful. I was in the Thunder Valley Casino in Lincoln, and I was just watching it at the bar with $4 beers and just love it. Once they announced Wisconsin, I was like, "Oh, it's about to go down," and it was great because
it's always Florida. I was like, "Way to go, Florida!"
You're right. No, Florida
way to fuck it up.
But it was just crazy to watch, like the people, even in the casino, like they started noticing, and it was just like this meltdown took place, and I was just like, "Yo, I don't even care. I just think this is funny," because it was weird how people.
It was a joke. Yeah, this has got to be a joke.
People took it so personally, and I think, and that's why, unfortunately, I said what I said is, regardless of who wins, I think the reaction will be the same, and I don't think it's good for America. But now,
I agree.
I would like to get, if you're comfortable with it, what your actual prediction of the results will be.
Yeah, my husband asked me that last week, and I'm mentally not prepared to do that because I don't want to go there. Yeah. I don't want to go there really either way at this point. I know where I'd like to go. I don't know where we are because, like I just said, seeing the bits that I've seen in different parts of the country, it is divided. I think it's going to get down to the wire, unless something. Honestly, like these debates, like none of that is going to sway anybody. I don't know why they're bothering with that, but people are going to they've made up their mind. To say that they haven't made up their mind is bullshit. On at least the president, and maybe their Congress people, but it's like, then if that's the case, then please pay attention to the other issues because we can't.
Yeah.
Those are just as important. Look at what's going on in your ballot and the decisions are going to be made. Because one of the saving graces for me, after Trump was elected was, I work for, and we do have a Democratic mayor and we're more a progressive state, but Colorado is definitely a purple state. It is not, a red state by any means. Right? Yeah, it really could swing either way. And like I said, just the demographics of different places, it's a very broad ranging population, diverse population. But the saving grace for me was, our mayor's like, you know what, we are a local municipality. We're going to deal with our community and our people and do the best we can with that. And we've had lots of fights and struggles with the feds, like especially over immigration and ICE. And I've had to personally deal with, trying to prevent Trump from getting, or ICE from getting our detainees from our own sheriff's office. And so there's been frustrations, but we have, your local government, your community, and your states. That's what you need to focus on, because that's where you live, and that's where the things that matter. Right. So people just need to I think, pay attention to those things. These things like the presidency, like vote your heart, vote what you think is best for the country. And again, it's your personal choice. But really, really research and pay attention. And everyone's like, go vote, go vote. Like, no, just don't go vote. Go fucking research the shit that you need to vote before you vote. Yeah.
See, and that's
I have a ballot. My ballot thing is this big, and I'm going to read all of it.
Oh, I know. I mean,
well, I won't read the Spanish version, but I'll read the English version.
Yeah. So my home of record is still Florida, so I still technically vote in Florida. So I
you got an absentee ballot?
An email. I know I got an email ballot this year. I just want to see what happens, right? I just want to cause all the chaos I can. So I requested an email ballot, and I've already sent it in. It's been counted. I got my little tracking number. It's all been counted, so I'm good. But no, Maddie votes in California, and like it's literally right over there on the other side of the table. What the good thing I think California does, and I don't know if they do this for you, but they send an entire like pamphlet with this massive write-up about every candidate and every proposition.
Yep.
My only problem with that is who actually reads it.
I do.
No, I don't. Renee, you and we are not the norm. We are outliers, right? So that's my thing. But no, going back to what you said is, no, don't just vote to vote, because that's what I think we're getting from a lot of these, especially the professional like sports organizations. They've all got.
And the celebrities, they're like, "I'll vote." I'm like, "No, research, then vote." Please.
Yeah, because
if you're just gonna vote and like this is not the SAT or some multiple choice test, it's like deciding people's lives.
Right, and like you said though, but the burden for your vote should not be based on your race, your religion, or whatever. Like, make that fucking party appeal to you. If they don't, then vote against them. If they do, vote for them. But that's my thing is like what just came out of this whole shit with the NBA is like, they did this like shutdown after the recent. It might have been in Kenosha, Wisconsin, the reaction to that. They came out and they figured out that 20% of NBA players are actually registered to vote, which doesn't surprise me. It surprises probably a lot of people, but for the most part,
I'm surprised. Yeah,
it doesn't surprise me.
That's not their agenda. Yeah.
Well, it's not, but the majority of NBA players are probably below the age of 24, right? Like this just isn't their fucking priority. It doesn't matter. You and I, like, we weren't professional athletes. We were probably wanting to register and vote because this is what we were drawn to. But for the most part, like, I can't be mad at a 22-year-old fucking kid for not registered to vote. That's just not his purview, right? That's just not what he focuses on.
But he has the right and the power to change the vote if he's educates himself to do it. So I have no problem with them. Yeah.
He's also expected to vote one way. Because
personal choice, whatever he does in that voting booth is his business. And yes, I agree with you. I agree with you that there's a stigma that he's supposed to vote this way, or that this is, or not a stereotype that he'll vote this way. But you don't know. The point is that he needs to make the votes need to reflect the community. And that was the thing about Trump. The community was saying that's what they wanted. The community was saying they wanted that type of leader, and that's what was hard to swallow. I'm like, oh, this is a community that doesn't like people like me.
I think you just put it. Yeah, I think you just put that perfectly, because I think that's what people have neglected to realize. And that would be what, like, what I honestly wish, and it's hard for me because I am so against propaganda, because I've seen it in foreign newspapers going to countries where I've been, but I'm not saying I want our media to be pro-America. What I would want our media to do is be honest.
Report the truth. That would be great.
I just want them to be fucking honest, because
I know, man. That's all I want too.
If our president, I don't care what fucking letters next to his name, if our president is doing something that's great for this country, I want that to be the news. I don't want it to be spun in like, oh, well, he's taking advantage. Like, I don't know if you guys realize this or not, but we live in the United States of America. And at the end of the day, all of our elected officials down to the county and local level, as you said, those fucking people represent us. And as far as we get on the way up, I want the people in those positions doing the best thing for us. I know.
That's the saving grace. No matter what's happening at the federal, national level,
right.
Yes, it will affect a lot of things. But your day to day, if you have what's reflecting your community, if your community is one that's more right centered, and you want, then you have it the other way or somewhere in between. But that's the whole role of government. And that's why that was one of the main reasons, especially being more conservative, is local, state government and control, because that's what matters. That's where the people are.
I hope you guys have been listening tonight. We've had 2.5 of the finest hours on There Will Be Bourbon. And
it's bedtime.
Like I said, I've known Renee since I was probably 11 or 12 years old, and her and I can talk forever, but we're not going to do that to you tonight. We're going to give you 2.5 hours. We're going to let you hopefully digest it and listen to it on your own. You can subscribe.
We can come back again maybe after the
yes, election. That's probably something we should explore. And we should do it live. We'll do it live. What's that bill of rights? We'll do it live. We'll do it in Colorado. But yeah, we'll probably come back after the election because Renee was pretty cryptic, if you paid attention on what she's expecting. But there's going to be a lot to take place over the next few weeks. And it's going to definitely decide the future in the direction of this country. But in the meantime, you should follow and subscribe to There Will Be Bourbon on YouTube. Look it up on all your favorite podcasting hosting sites like Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio. It's out there. Follow me on Twitter at EricTWBB. There Will Be Bourbon. And then Renee, if you are in the district of, I don't know, Colorado, maybe if you see her on the election one day, just vote for her. She's a great woman. She needs to be in charge and in power. Vote for Renee.
No, thank you. This was fun, Eric. Thank you so much.
It was great. I appreciate you joining us. You are the warrior, as your sweatshirt proclaims, and we'll do this again.
Sounds good.
All right, Airborne, first to go, last to know. Let me